Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Anton with your Supercharged Life, and this is my second go at doing one of these video podcasts. I'm super excited. First time, if you remember, I had my buddy Jack, that's my AI guy, and that went pretty well, we felt. And now we have somebody else that I really have gotten to know a little bit better over the last couple of months or so. Her name is Mikhaila Christian. We met through school, and she is my vegan pro. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover today. I'm super excited to have Mikhaila. And let's go ahead and just start, Mikhaila, and kind of on a personal level, just to let to know you a little bit. Tell me about your community, how it got started, and then just you as a person, because I love learning people's stories.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to talk to you today and for everyone to, connect with us and our stories. And so I am a new mom, a boy mom, and I am an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I have been vegan for 15 years and I'm a happy vegan. I'm not a someone who is forceful or judgmental. I'm just me, and this is just my story. And I'm very excited to share some of the things that have been life changing for me today so that you guys can take that away and learn from my 15 years of experience as well as my education. I have my master's in health coaching with a focus on nutrition, plus tons of other nutrition certificates and, just programs that I've done that have helped me educate myself further in the subject. And I'm just really excited to share that. So, um, I used to own a spa. I live in Hawaii. I'm Hawaii based. I'm originally from Los Angeles. And yeah, I owned a spa here in Hawaii and I sold it a few years ago. And I've just been embarking on this new journey of teaching people about the vegan lifestyle because it's not just trendy right now. There's a reason why people are discovering the benefits of eating plant-based and of going vegan, which is, going fully plant-based is basically vegan. Plant-based, it leaves a little wiggle room for, having a very veggie heavy, vegan heavy diet with the option to eat other sources, animal sources of food. But the goal is always to try to get all the way all the way plant-based. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's kind of what I do, and I coach clients and I have the school community, and I am also launching my podcast next week as well. And I'm so excited. It's been a journey for sure to, kind of get all of this together and teach people, what we're passionate about, and I love that you are including this in your series because health really is wealth, and taking care of yourself is really the pathway to success.
yeah. I mean, I don't remember when it was, but a while back, you and I were talking about, well, we've, I think, talked about this multiple times, but, you know, I love when you say health is wealth because there are a lot of people out there that have figured out one of the four core components that my community is about, so which would be health, wealth, relationships, and faith, right?
Hmm.
And we know people that are really good at making money, but I'm sure a lot of us know people that are good at making money, but they're, very unhealthy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Put
and
their
and
health on the back burner.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like uh you can tell that they probably have at some point or still are sacrificing their health over the wealth. And it's like, well, you have the money, but if you continue down a certain path, how long are you going to be able to enjoy it for? You know? So
Mhm.
so the new thing now is because I'm watching a lot of different health related podcasts, vlogs, etc. So I think if you're one of those people that has figured out a way to make a lot of money, you should definitely take your health very, very seriously, right? And the cool
Mhm.
thing about it is that there's no one set way that works for everybody. And I love myself learning new things and new concepts and new ways to get healthier, right?
Mhm.
And when you and I met initially, I mentioned this to you, and we're going to discuss this a little bit later in the podcast. But um, I am a carnivore guy. I have been on keto for many, many, many years. And prior to meeting you and talking about the vegan lifestyle, I couldn't imagine that I would ever even consider this. And but the more you give yourself a chance to learn about new things, hopefully, and what I'm trying to accomplish, one thing with this podcast, one of the things I'm trying to accomplish is to open people's minds a little bit, because I'm traditionally very confident and very not very flexible when it comes to certain things. But ultimately, health is extremely important to me. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you kind of like stuck like in a one track thing
Yeah.
and just saying like I'm a carnivore through and through, or I'll never be
Wait, are you
vegan.
a carnivore or an herbivore? Because do you just eat meat or do you also have some greens, some this, some that? Because,
I'll tell you what,
uh,
I'm very bad at eating any vegetables. Like honestly, the only vegetables that I would normally eat would be like cucumbers, tomatoes, some peppers, and sometimes I'll eat broccoli.
okay, so you're an omnivore because you're
Okay,
not purely a carnivore. I don't think
okay,
anybody can purely do carnivore because then
right.
they start having um, gut health issues and colon issues
Okay,
and they start clogging everything. So you do need something to push the meat through and some type of enzyme
correct.
to
Yes,
help digest all that, you know?
right. Yeah, and
I know a lot of people say they're carnivores, and I'm like, you're an omnivore.
that's right. You actually
Yeah.
make a great point, because when I say carnivore, appreciate you correcting me, because what I actually meant to say is that um, I'm an animal food consumer. I consume animal food.
Uh-huh.
So it's not necessarily like I don't eat 5 pounds of steak every day, right? But like I'll eat dairy, I'll eat eggs, and then of course red meat, steak. The one thing that I've honestly started to get away from is um is pork. I
Oh, yeah.
probably
Yeah.
eat pork now like once a year, but
Mhm.
uh just from what I've seen and read out there, it's a very dirty meat, so to speak. And so I mean it's pigs. They swim in dirt all day long. And anyway, I don't even want to get into that. Um, but speaking of that, it's a good segue, because if there are a lot of people that you would talk to and who eat meat, and then as soon as you're like, hey, but do you know how that meat is grown, how it's processed, how it's packaged? They're like, oh, I don't want to even hear it, because I know if I do, I'll never eat meat again, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
I'm kind of that way, but we have to be real and honest with ourselves. You can't just stick your head in the sand and pretend that that's not happening, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I am a firm believer in that, you know, God put animals on earth for us to, you know, feed ourselves with animals. But I'm starting to get very, very concerned about how meat is being produced for consumption, right? We've gotten away from all that, how we used to hunt our own, meat or whatever. And frankly, I am bothered by seeing, reading, and learning things about how meat is processed, right?
Mhm.
So that was a big reason of why I decided that I can be very inflexible with my thinking about health. There are plenty of people, lots of people that are doing the vegan lifestyle, and they're
Mhm.
very healthy. And if I'm being true and honest with myself about really wanting to be healthy, then I'm going to start exploring other things. And that's why you and I are doing this,
Yeah.
because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are probably in a similar situation as me. And I just want to help people understand better the vegan lifestyle, right? And by the way, what is the name of your school community?
Yeah, so it's also called Live the Vegan Lifestyle, like my website, which
Oh,
is
perfect.
livetheveganlifestyle.com. And if you go to the website, there's a free video there where they can learn just, some quick tips on going vegan without giving out the foods that you love. It's like 20-minute video with a free PDF booklet, companion booklet. You just enter your email and you get the booklet. And right below that is a link to the Skool community as well. So they can check it all out, all the details, everything about it. Um, but yeah, that I understand what you're saying. All of those points are very valid. And honestly, when I went vegan 15 years ago, I am I come from, a Latina family. So my mom's side,
Oh,
they're Puerto Rican, Cuban, and my dad's side are they're from Mexico, they're Mexican. And so, and I'm second generation LAN. I'm from LA, my mom's from LA, my dad's from Mexico. So but my grandparents are from Cuba and Puerto Rico. So it's interesting because you think some of these cultures have a very meat heavy culture, but my grandpa died a few years ago. He was 95 years old. My grandma's 84. And she told me they don't really eat that much meat. And they eat a lot of I think the Latin culture, like you think it's very meat heavy, and it can be. I mean, my Mexican side, they're all a little bigger and they have health problems, and it's just the way it is, with the food, the lard and the this and the that, very authentic Mexican food. But I have figured out ways to clean up. Still love to cook. I've been cooking since I was little, and make Mexican food, but the healthier way, and substitute certain things. And even if you weren't to go vegan, you should still be substituting certain things for healthier options. And I think, my background being Latin, I remember when I did first go vegan, I remember my Mexican side were extremely judgmental and offended. They were offended that I was making a lifestyle change. And I remember first going vegan, and a lot of people didn't like that, that I was making. I didn't even know it was called vegan when I went vegan. So back to some of the points you made, I think you were talking about the meat and eating a lot of meat, and saying, you were cutting out pork. So to bring that up, because I was like, I know where this is going. I think a lot of people would not eat certain food if they had to kill their own food, like back when the cavemen were hunting and doing that. And what were the women doing? What was the primary, what they say? Because we weren't there, we don't know for sure, right? We just know what they say and what the archaeologists find, and and this and this and that. Basically, that they weren't eating a lot of meat back then. They could not catch a wild tiger or a lion or an animal. Like it was hard to catch and kill an animal, and how often were they killing animals? They would kill it and they would live off that for a little bit. And then the primary, part of their diet were the nuts and the seeds and the berries, that the women were constantly picking, that were growing all the time, so
yeah.
it wasn't a meat heavy diet. Even though they were cavemen eating meat, it still wasn't even a meat heavy diet. And some of my books, one of my favorite books about going vegan, a very simple book, one of the scientists, the doctors, discusses how even a lion in the wild does not even eat meat 3 times a day. And a lion is a carnivore, an actual carnivore, who's
Yeah.
actually eating meat. And even a lion who's catching gazelles and, all types of animals in the wild is not eating that much meat. They don't even need that much meat, and they are a wild animal. And,
So yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because that is how I started a while back. As you know, I'm big on fasting.
yeah.
And so I started slowly, and then, I kept increasing it more and more as it got more comfortable for me. But as I did my research, I found out that, it's not like on the Discovery Channel where you can be watching a show about lions and they show the lion eat like three, four times a day. What you think is three, four times a day,
Yeah.
but people don't understand that this is footage that's been shot over probably multiple weeks
Months
and
even.
months, right? So in
Yeah.
reality, what it is they say that basically I got the idea about fasting from reading something that said that, hey, you know what lions do is they kill their food, they stuff themselves, and then they
Mhm.
just lounge for the next 2, 3 days. So that's how I got the idea about fasting. But
Ah,
it's interesting that you're mentioning the lions because that is correct. And I'm sure they also eat other stuff other than just meat, but it's definitely not killing an animal three times a day and then
totally.
eating all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
I think also like, bringing it back to what we were saying earlier about, that you wanted to explore other options. I think if people are interested in trying out vegan, it's definitely something that you should do slowly. Like, maybe start cutting out pork, and then maybe red meat, and then maybe, chicken. And then, like you can do it over a year or even longer if it takes longer. Personally, I did it overnight, but I would encourage anyone watching this who's maybe fascinated already by some of this information to check out the book that turned me vegan. I just read it. I picked it up Friday evening. I saw a whole wall display at Whole Foods of this book, and I kept seeing it like I was starting my
which
health
one?
journey.
Which one
And
is
it's
it?
called The China Study.
Oh, yeah, you've
And so they
mentioned that
turned
to
it
me before.
into,
Yeah, it's in my
yeah, they turned
Amazon
it
cart.
into,
Yeah.
yeah, a documentary. And then the documentary is called Forks Over Knives. And now they're like
Yes.
huge, because I think a lot of people, prefer a documentary over reading a book, it's just
Oh,
how.
I love documentaries. I'm also a book guy big time, but with being busy these days, it's so
Yeah.
much easier. And the one thing that's like a huge like life supercharge hack for me is consuming content 1.5, 1.75, 2x speed. As long as your brain's able to process it. Um, I'm watching YouTube videos that way. I'm watching Netflix videos that way
Oh,
as well.
wow.
So if it's a documentary on there, I'm like, boom, done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's convenient because I can kill that one movie in about, if it's a
They
2 hour
might
movie, I
they
can
might have
kill.
the book on Audible, that
Yep.
someone can listen to it. Audible for me can be a little stagnant sometimes because the readers are just monotone.
Yeah.
But but I do think if someone is interested in consuming this book, I just picked it up Friday night and by Monday morning I was vegan. Like it was such a page turner and very easy read. A little bit boring with some of the statistics because it's a scientist wrote it, Dr. Campbell and T. Colin Campbell, and you know, it is a 30-year study of China and Asian countries, not just Asian countries, but primarily Asian countries. And it basically, they did a study during the war and the Swedish and the this and the that, and it showed some people even in concentration camps and how they were fed a plant-based diet just because it's cheaper. Meat and cheese are actually a luxury, they're more expensive. So eating vegan is way more affordable than, especially if you're shopping at like your farmers markets and whatnot, you can get away with like really, really low cost. And so I'm sorry,
And
there's
better quality food.
yeah, they're better quality food.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
okay, there was an ambulance, but it's passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that. You're
And
good.
yeah, but I picked up, this book and I read it over the weekend and I was just fascinated because the scientist is like, "Hey, I'm not trying to make money off of you. Like this is the dark side of scientists and lobbying and how they pay us to sway the, vote towards one way or the other. And I'm just going to put it all out there, the dark side of science and why we believe." This is what I'm saying. It was so good and I was very non-biased. I was just like, "What is this book?" A whole wall display of it, a whole entire wall of the same book. So I just
Yeah.
had to read it. I kept seeing it at Whole Foods. I'm like, okay, I'll read it. So when I was reading it, I was just fascinated by some of this information about how their levels of cancer basically are very low in other countries, specifically like blue zones, and how in those countries they don't eat a lot of meat and cheese, and how Americans have, we have diabetes, we have obesity, we have heart issues, heart attacks, heart problems,
Alzheimer's, a lot of,
Alzheimer's.
yeah, Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
dementia type.
Mainly
Yeah.
like cancer though is what they were focused on. And
Hmm.
they did a test with rats and they did do a test and feeding them different diets and whatnot. And they were developing tumors when they were feeding them more meat and stuff. So it just kind of scared me, vegan. Like I was like, whoa, I didn't even know what the book was about. I was like trying to study. And then I just was vegan Monday morning. So I don't, no pun intended, but I don't encourage people to go vegan cold turkey just because a lot of people don't even know what they're doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to go like hire a dietitian, a nutritionist who both knew nothing about it either. And then I found a chef. At the time, I had another business. And so I didn't have much time. I hired the chef to go shopping. Remember, I'm from LA. So the Santa Monica Farmers Market is huge.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
blocks long. It's really nice. And that's where a lot of the local restaurants get their stuff too. Like they come and buy from there. So it's just like, California supplies a lot of the US food and part of a lot of the world. We supply, we have all those farms, especially up north. So we get an abundance of food that you wouldn't really normally find,
Yeah.
and so I hired her to go and buy my groceries twice a week on Saturdays and Wednesdays. And then she's like, do you want me to just make your food, I'm like, okay. Because I was spending like a good 300 a week at Whole Foods and I still had to meal prep everything. I had just went vegan and then I decided to go raw vegan for 9 months. Um, I was doing triathlons and really you shouldn't go raw vegan longer than, a month or two, for
Oh,
a good
yeah.
detox, a good cleanse. And really you should do it over the summer when it's a hotter and during a hotter climate, when if you live in a hotter climate, because raw foods are very cooling to the body. So living in Hawaii, I knew I could do, an abundance of fruits and vegetables just because we have a lot of that here, exotic fruits and just really fresh, local farms and stuff. So eating locavore, eating in your area. But I think for people, when I hired her and I learned so much through her, like every single day she'd prep my food and throw it in a cooler. And that night or the next morning, I'd go and grab everything and it was all in glass containers, jars, and I learned so much from her. Her name is Emily. I hope to interview her soon on my podcast so you guys can get to know her. I love Emily.
So you're
But
still in touch with her?
oh yeah, I saw her
Awesome.
last year. Yeah, when I went recently to California
Visit.
and
Yeah.
we met up and I bought her some of her. She's still chef. She has her own kitchen. She does catering. And so, that's how it started, with me. And I was just kind of like, wow, it wasn't big like it is now. Like vegan was not like everywhere. There wasn't like plant-based on every marketing of everything.
Yeah.
And so I just had to kind of figure it out. I remember I paid 300 to this dietitian for like an hour and she just gave me a printout, a sheet, and it was like, eat bread with peanut butter. And I was like, okay, thanks. Thanks. This is what I can't believe I just paid $300. So I just knew she didn't know anything about the vegan, lifestyle. And
Yeah.
just had a little office in Century City and she could do that. She could charge that, because it's LA and you can just do that. But I bought a bunch of books, David Wolf and a bunch of these like, OG vegan, like people who are huge in the community, especially back then. And I just kind of devoured all these books, and that's how I learned about raw vegan, and which a lot of triathletes and marathoners do raw vegan or a high, vegan diet because of the carbs and the sugar. The fruit gives them a lot of feel, and it helps with recovery for your muscles and the soreness, and so it's just feeding you all the aminos that you need for all of everything you need to do that kind of competitive, it's a full-time job. I feel like doing triathlons and
Oh,
whatnot.
I
So,
believe it too.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, these guys are
yeah.
like professional athletes, right?
Yeah, it is I
Yeah.
was training at least 3 hours a day. I remember when I was doing it, and that's why I hired her. So I was like, I can't be making food all day if I'm like working out all day and running this business. And I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s, so this was 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think when people are trying to embark on a new diet or a new lifestyle, I definitely think, like you said, just get educated as much as possible and learn the possibilities. And I don't think people should do things alone. Like,
That's
even
huge. A hundred
yeah, even our
percent.
friend says, if you're
Absolutely.
not going to learn through me, learn through someone,
Yeah.
because I think you'll do it wrong. And what I see a lot with vegans is they're confused about how to eat or what to eat, and then they just kind of can't keep it up because they're like, I didn't know how to. Whenever I tell people I'm vegan, they're like, oh, I used to be vegan, and I'm like, oh, what happened, or what made you change your mind? And a lot of the times they said they were just confused, they didn't know how to do it. So they didn't know how to get their nutrients, and whatnot. And for me, I get my blood checked every year. I get, a panel done and I make sure I'm on point with everything and I have perfect health, not to brag, but just to point out, like,
No,
I'm
you
not
can
a,
brag. You actually should absolutely brag. I'm serious. I'm serious. Because I'll tell you what, like with me, I'm a fairly active guy. Like I would probably do like really high intensity cardio 8 or 9 months out of the year. So like I would do soccer season twice for about 12 weeks. I have a league, and then most of the rest of the time I would do basketball. Um, but my um, cholesterol numbers are somewhat elevated most of the time, but I'm getting to be like I'm in my mid 40s.
Mhm.
Um, but I do understand that there is an opportunity for me to clean up my diet. Like I don't think I will ever give up, certain foods. And again, I love that you said that people should ease into this.
Mhm.
And I know I know you're referring to uh the speed at which you get into it. But I think there's another thing, like for me personally, it's just don't force yourself to go 100% vegan right away or in a certain period of time. I think we end up failing a lot of times if we set unrealistic expectations. And you
Mhm.
set unrealistic expectations because you're very new to it. You haven't done enough research. You haven't talked to enough people like yourself that are experts in the field. And then you just decide, oh, I'm going to achieve this kind of result in this kind of time frame. And then when you don't, especially with how everybody this day and age is all about instant gratification. So it's very easy to give up when you make something in your mind. And I'm actually teaching my son this right now. Don't create expectations if you're not very confident and very certain in your ability to create realistic, accurate expectations. Because if you do, then you end up paying the price by not getting the result. And I don't know a lot of people that are happy when they don't get the result. Most people get upset, right? Like with him, he's still younger. So like he would cry when something doesn't happen, doesn't go his way, he gets upset. So I'm talking through this with him and I'm teaching him like, it's fine, but you're not, you haven't lived life long enough to be at a point. So in other words, if you're not fairly knowledgeable in a certain area, then don't do that because you're only going to hurt yourself.
Mhm.
So with me, the way it progressed as an example was that keto kept me very full for a long time. So that's how
Mhm.
I started extending my fasting window.
Mhm.
And when I got to 24 hours, I was shocked. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like this is the thing. Is this possible? But all the while, I'm also watching videos and consuming a lot of content, educating myself on it. And then, you went to multiple days after that. But I think the main thing is don't put any kind of pressure on yourself. Just do little by little and just keep adding slowly without having an expectation. And then when you do get the result, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And you and I have talked about it before, but um, some of the things that a lot of people probably have misconception about folks that are doing the vegan lifestyle is that maybe you don't have like enough nutrients. Maybe sometimes you'll be low energy. But the funny thing is like you're literally telling me that it's the exact opposite because if you're a triathlete and these guys are doing it,
Yeah.
then Anybody can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no shortage of energy that you can get from, eating that way. And the other thing is you also told me about that it was a documentary, I believe, about this I think he was an Armenian guy that was the
Yeah,
strongest
the
man in the
strongest
world.
man in the world. Yeah, I think it was like they call him the Ox or something.
Yes, yes, and it's
Mhm.
on Netflix.
Yeah, so it's called
Um,
The Game Changers.
what was it?
The Game Changers
Game
is the
Changers.
documentary.
Yes, yes,
And it's about
yes.
all these athletes and they show their actual results from switching to a vegan diet and how their just everything, their testosterone, everything is rises and they have tons of more energy and they're able to think more clearly, they gain clarity and they're just shocked because the proof is in the pudding. Like these are the scientists come in and doctors come in and they measure everything and do their blood tests and hook them all up and they're showing the difference. So I mean, it can't get more factual than that.
Yeah,
And
so,
these are professional athletes,
yeah,
that playing basketball and all kinds of sports. So
yeah. So I think for me, that specific documentary was a huge wake-up call, just kind of like it sounds like the book was for you back then, because I'm not by any stretch of the imagination this bodybuilder guy.
mhm.
But the guy in the movie was like, it's
Mhm.
literally the strongest man in the world.
He's so strong,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like
And
whoa.
and for me, it was like, if you go to the gym as a guy, and like I said, I'm in my mid 40s. The only thing that I've ever heard for the last 25, 30 years since I would have been working out is protein, 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 right? Like you got to eat as much as possible. And I'm assuming, just by looking at this guy in the documentary, he probably used to be one of those guys that was eating like 300 grams of protein a day. Most of it, if not all of it, coming from animal protein sources.
Mhm, mhm.
So that was shocking to me. That was like, okay, this is one of those things where, like I said, I had a light bulb go off.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I didn't see what I saw.
Mhm.
So that
Totally.
was, yeah, that was a
Yeah,
big thing for me.
totally.
And now all of a sudden, again, I'm not by any stretch like a guy that goes and like lifts like weights 5, 6 days a week, heavy, heavy. But I've always wanted to make sure that when I do go lift, I have enough protein and, you drink the shakes, the whey protein shakes and whatever. And I mean, we're not even going to get into that, but there's so much bad stuff in those things, right? So now I'm starting to look, that's the one huge change that I'm making is I'm going to plant-based proteins now.
You know what? It's so fun. I knew you that this was coming to this. So many people I know who are not vegan are doing plant-based protein shakes now. And not all of those are super clean, but a lot of them, when you look at it, you're like, oh wow, like there's a few brands. My favorite one is Erewhon. They're super clean. And I know a lot of people like um the Food Babes. Hers is Vani? I don't know. It starts with the V. It's good. It's good. It's clean. A lot of people
Yeah.
like that one. And it's true. They're so much cleaner. And I've noticed that a lot of people who are gym goers are switching to plant-based protein. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. Like, and they'll post it and they're all proud of it. And they're like, plant-based, and I'm like, yeah, like, yeah, get that plant-based protein.
Yeah.
And it's just assimilates so much faster and easier into your body. And you're right. I don't even want to get into all the whey and the milk and all the because I do encourage whoever's watching this to go through your own rabbit hole. Go down your own rabbit hole. Like you were saying, oh, pork, it's so dirty. And I was thinking, oh, wait till he finds out about shrimp, or wait till you find out about
Oh,
just so many different animals like you're right, we are all part of the animal kingdom, we are animals ourselves, we're all part of it. But like you said, as we've evolved as we've evolved. We're literally different. Our bone structure is different. Everything is different. Our teeth are different, and so we are made, to absorb also the plants of this earth, the fruits of the earth that God has placed here as well, right?
Oh,
If we're gonna
100%. Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah. And
Bible.
I'm thinking for a good period of time, way back when, during the caveman times, like you were saying, you know, they didn't have fire discovered for a long while. And I
Yeah.
highly doubt they were just consuming like raw meat. They kill something. And I mean, I can't imagine that they did, but who knows, right? So they had to live off of nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables, I'm guessing, because that was readily available, right? Like that was all
Yeah.
over. So it makes sense. That's the main thing. It just makes sense. And so I agree with you. I would never discourage people from trying things out on their own. But
Yeah.
I do want to stress, while you're doing that, don't do it blindly.
Yes.
While you're doing it, experiment with things that you're learning on your own, whether it's through, listening to audiobooks, reading the real thing, watching YouTube videos, or I would say most importantly, have some kind of support system, like a community like yours, Facebook group, whatever, even a coach, because what we do as coaches is we are shrinking the time frame that it takes to go from point A to point B, like wherever you want to get to, right? I've been in a situation where I've learned and researched something and I've struggled on my own. And next thing you know, it's like it's 10 years later and you kind of sort of now getting it. Like my journey with working out has kind of been that way. And
Yeah.
then one time I was like, well, wait a minute. I can only do so much of this learning and experimenting on my own. Let me hire a coach. And as
Yeah.
soon as I hired a coach, oh my gosh, it was insane. I only had him for like 3 months, but I
Mm.
probably learned as much with him in 3 months as I did the prior 10 years doing it on my own. So ultimately, you have to tell yourself, are you like 20 and you have all the time in the world to learn?
Uh-huh.
Or are you like, 50 years old and you're like, well, I'm going to experiment and learn on my own? I mean, it just depends on how healthy you are, right? Like the healthier you are, maybe you have some time to
Well, I
experiment.
was 22 and I hired a coach.
Right.
Even at
That too.
22, I was like,
Yes.
oh,
Great point.
I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And even the coaches I hired had no idea what they were
Well,
doing.
hold on one sec.
I found someone.
I'm gonna tell you something. And I agree wholeheartedly that is never too early, right? I'm
Yeah.
essentially my son's coach. Like I'm teaching him about money, I'm teaching him about wisdom, I'm teaching him about health, I'm teaching him all these things, right? And that's how every parent should be with their child anyway. So there's no too early. But isn't it funny that the younger you are, the less likely you are to do it? So it has to do something with like mindset. And that's one of the things that I try to impress on younger people that come to my channel and to my Skool community is that you think you know the most when you're younger
Yeah.
because you don't have as much life behind you and as much wisdom, without insulting people. It's just how we're created. But that's essentially the time where valuable knowledge will give you way better return 10 years in the future. So in
Mhm.
other words, how many people say, oh, I wish I'd known that 10 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Had you known it 10 years ago, you would have done things differently. And now you would be sitting on this amount of results, right? Like with money, for example, right? Like the thing is, oh, start investing when you're 18, so that then maybe you can invest like tiny, like $100 a month. By the time you're 30, you stop investing and then you can retire with like $2 million versus someone that waited until they were 50. Now you're
Yeah.
dumping 3,000 a month for the next 20 years and you still don't have as much as the guy that started early, young. And so it's similar like that with everything else. You don't want to allow your body to get to a point where you've destroyed it over the years because you had this invincibility mindset. Oh, I'm in my 20s. I can, do all these things, party hard, drink a lot, God forbid, like do some kind of like substances. I don't mean you want to get into that because we're way past that on this podcast. Like we're not going to even talk about people that do like drugs or whatever, but someone that ate unhealthily for a long time, right? Like, or even smoking or whatever. What I found out is because I have personal experience with this, the damage that you do to your body over the years does not go away just because you stop and then you change your lifestyle. It's literally sitting dormant in your body. And then at some point, it comes out to bite you in the back. I've seen this with, you know, my my ex's mother was that way. She was a smoker for a really long time, like until her mid 50s. And then she stopped because it was like, okay, we're done now, right? Like it's a bad thing for you.
Yeah.
But then she didn't live a long time after that,
Oh,
like she
wow.
only lived to be in her early 70s. And a lot of people have this, again, younger people think that I can do all these things and then there's no consequences.
Yeah.
But it's not that way. So always the best thing is live as healthily as you can, starting as early as you can, because it's a compound effect. Just like the bad habits compound over time, and then all of a sudden you wake up when you're 61 day and you have all these issues, right? I mean, the best example, like we were talking about, is like the obesity thing, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knows how not to be overweight.
Mhm.
Yet 2/3 of the people were overweight, and like 35%, I think almost 40% now are actually obese, depending on what
Yeah.
metric you use. It's
Yeah.
insane to me. It's absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
So,
I
but
think success is painted in advance, and I think exactly what you're saying, I think success is painted in advance. So you're basically doing a preventative lifestyle. Like, not just going vegan, just when you enforce or change up your regime, your routine, and you say, okay, I'm going to enforce this, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to have a green smoothie every day so I can have the benefits of all the enzymes, the superfoods, the phytonutrients, the energy, the clarity, everything that comes with having just a green smoothie every morning. Like it's life changing. I have a green smoothie every single morning now. And I have all my friends doing the same exact green smoothie every single morning. Like they're like now their whole families now it's a compound, right? Like when you
you
take
got
on,
me into it. Remember we talked
yeah,
about that?
yeah. I
Yeah,
got
I got a
people doing
juicer. Yeah,
juicy.
because you told me. Yeah.
It's amazing. And you have a fresh juice that you just made fresh juice. It's like, okay, let me tell you guys a little bit more about my story. So when I became vegan, when I picked up that book, we had just went, I graduated from UCLA when I was 19. And
You
my best,
graduated at 19?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So I graduated, yeah, from UCLA
Wow.
Film School. I was 19 years old. That summer, I turned 20. So my best friend, who we went to high school, we went to UCLA together. She was graduating the following year because I graduated obviously early. So then after the
Like
following,
3 years early, or yeah, 2 to 3. That's crazy.
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
take did
So
you take extra credits in high school, or
I
did you
did.
just
I
like
did
the
the high
20
school
credits?
plus. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right after ninth grade, I was skipping every day. Uh, what is it? Math
Yeah.
and high school and some math class. I can't. Oh, algebra. It was like algebra, and so I failed it because every day I skipped it to go to second lunch with my boyfriend at the time, because I wanted to go to lunch with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was like in ninth grade.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you failed it because you never went to class, like you've completely failed the whole class. And also, everybody who even took the class failed it, because it was just hard and nobody passed it.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, you can do this. They were like, because so many people failed algebra this year. Well, now I'm wondering if it was the teacher. I know I failed because I just never showed up to class, you know? So it was a blessing in disguise. So then they were like, you guys all need to do summer school now, you know, for algebra because everybody failed. So then I like didn't realize I failed till, you know, at the very end, but people knew they were failing because they were in the class failing, you know, with the tests and you just know you're failing a course, you know. So then I just wasn't really worried about it, to be honest with you. I knew I was pretty smart and I just was like, whatever, I want to see my boyfriend, you know. That wasn't very smart, but whatever. And so then the
Wow,
counselor
you're
was like,
allowed that
yeah, I
at
mean,
what,
whatever.
14,
It was
15? Yeah.
great. It was, I had a
Yeah.
blast. Yeah, I loved, oh my God, I had so much fun. But then I really didn't want to be in high school anymore and I was just kind of over it. So then my counselor was like, a lot of people failed and they already filled up the summer school program here in your high school. But this college offers also algebra. And so a lot of the high school students, it's called the High School Plus program. You can take it with permission from your school, you know? So a lot of people had to take it. So I was like, okay. So I took it with some other people and they offered it at a different high school and I made all these friends there and it was so much fun. Also the course, you know, I was like, this was awesome. This is a college class, you know? So then when we went back to school, 10th grade, I was taking night classes. I was doing 4 classes. I was doing the most you could do. Night school. So I was like 15 or something. You know, I was like, I graduated high school when I was 16. So I think I was like 14 or 15. I can't remember. But I remember doing a full course load of classes. Then I took AP, so like internship after school, which teaches you how to apply to colleges and everything. And then after that, I would get a ride home with one of the students because I lived 2 cities away, and they were going to Chaffey Community College, which is where I went, which is in Rancho Cucamonga. That's where I lived for after high school. And so then I would do night school. So it was like 6 to 9 was night school, you know? So then I would go home, I would do homework, and then I would do night school. And then I was full time in college while I was in high school full time. And then on the weekends, I would take the bus 3 hours away and I worked at a hair salon. And
Wow.
it was a African American hair salon, you know, it was an ethnic hair salon and I learned how to braid and do
Yeah.
weaves and extensions and I was making so much money on the weekends, you know, and then I was like in school all week and I was like 15, I was 15, you know, I didn't even have my
At
permit.
15, you were doing that?
And so, you
Wow.
know, that was that. And I emancipated myself at 17. And I went into UCLA and, you know, I entered as a junior. I went to film school, UCLA Film School. So you enter as a junior.
Gotcha.
I had already finished my credits at the community college because I was,
That's why you look so good on camera. That's
you know,
cool.
and so,
Yeah.
you know, after that, I was like, okay, you know, we had you know, back to after high school, after college, me and my best friend, we lived together for a year. So we were partying so much in Hollywood because it was just like, oh my gosh, you know, like we were getting wine to dine everywhere we went. I was dating someone at the time that would just take us to like new restaurants like 3, 4 times a week, you know, like anywhere we wanted to go, like all the best restaurants all over LA, even Vegas on the weekends, you know, like
Oh,
we had so
nice.
much fun. It was great. And this is before I went vegan, you know, so the sushi, those steakhouses, you know, like
Okay, I'm
all the
glad
best.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to ask you if you were actually like a meat eater before then, like you were
Yeah, yeah.
eating
But
dairy.
I
Okay.
wasn't dairy. I could never do dairy, which most
Oh,
of us can't because we're all like lactose basically. You know, we all have most people can't do dairy. That's why everybody's going dairy free. The dairy industry is asking for a bailout. People are going plant-based with their milks because it's hard to digest for most people.
yeah.
Um, so I never really did dairy. But I was a big fish person. I was a big seafood girl. So no matter where I went my whole entire life, ever since I was a kid, I always got, in Spanish we call it mariscos, you know? So mariscos is like seafood, you know? And I would
Yeah.
get ceviche and I could make all this at home every day. I would make ceviche, I'd make mahi mahi, you know, all the different fishes. And I loved shrimp and, you know, I would make fettuccine Alfredo, you know, some type of shrimp, you know? And so, um, I was never like a meat eater though, anyways. So probably for me, it was easier to go vegan because I never even liked meat. You know, I didn't like poultry. I didn't like the red meat. You know, I was more of a seafood, a fish girly, you know, like that's what I liked.
So
So
let me ask you this, because that's a really good segue. So do vegetarians eat fish?
no, a pescatarian eats fish. Yeah,
Okay.
so you're
Okay.
pescatarian.
Because
Yeah,
this
so
is
you eat
getting,
a lot more
yeah.
veggies and then fish. So it's almost a lot of pescatarians I know are they're practically vegan, or they might be like, they do eggs occasionally. So there's like so many different, there's lacto ovo, there's all these different ones. But I would say most pescatarians I know are practically vegan and they just eat fish also.
Gotcha. Okay, because this is now getting, yeah, this is now getting in an area that like it's kind of like deep in the weeds. I
Yeah.
haven't, I haven't, haven't
Okay,
re
but let me tell you what happened
yeah.
with the so we're like, okay, so she had because we went to UCLA, NYU offers a study abroad over the summer to go and learn the history of NYU and go like gallivant around New York City, So she had went that prior summer before my 22nd birthday. And it was like when reggaeton was in at the time, So I graduated 2007. So she went 2006, to
Yeah.
New York. The reggaeton. It was times were had, like it was an era. So she had it the plug with every single club, and these were high-end clubs like Meatpacking District. This was back then. DJ Clue. Like this was 2006. Okay, we're in 2025, so this is like
Almost 20 years ago. Crazy.
yeah, almost 20 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a year short. So, she had that plug and we were just like, I was just getting so drunk, not like super wasted, but just like drinking everywhere. And we were eating pizza, New York pizza, and we were just
Oh,
going Statue of Liberty. Like we were so young and it was just so fun. And so we went that following summer for my birthday to New York for a week. And we were like, yeah, let's do this. So, right after that whole amazing trip, because she already knew a bunch of people in New York from the summer abroad before, right? We were at the airport, and occasionally this happens in New York. The storm comes up the coast, and we were like, our plane was delayed for like, I want to say like 5 hours at first, then it was like 8 hours. It was like the whole day delayed. So we're just at the airport. It was storming, like hurricane, whatever. So we're like waiting. And so we go into this like little bougie sushi restaurant, that was like so bougie, like red wine, it was real fancy. And we're like, let's go drink, like, because like we're bored, we've been here for hours, we're starving, let's eat before they close the restaurant and let's drink. So we got so drunk, like reeking drunk. I don't drink anymore, but this is why. So we got so drunk, and
yeah.
I'm like in shock they even let us on the plane, like
Yeah.
we were reeking of alcohol. So we're just like drunk and we get on the plane and I get home and it was just my 22nd birthday and I was like, dang, I've been drinking. So I graduated UCLA at 19, right? I turned 20 that summer. So it had been 2 years straight. I had just been drinking for 2 years straight, like McDonald's every meal, Rubio's, Taco Bell, like all fast food at that time,
Yeah.
drinking, just in Hollywood, all the clubs, like every other day, just like and taking taxis, because we didn't have Uber back then, just it was so much fun. We lived in Marina Del Rey on the harbor over there, it was so much fun. And so then I came home after this trip and I was like, I want to change my life, Like I'm 22. I know that's so young, but I had already grown up so fast, with graduating high school at 16 and college at 19. And I had, been working since I was 15. I had been selling candies in like elementary school, like hustling, like always having some type of job. And, and later I'll talk about this on my podcast, but I had a very sad, like tragic and traumatic upbringing in childhood. So like I kind of really had to raise myself, So I was like, whoa, like I have no guidance, I have no parents, I have nothing. I'm 22 and I really don't want to drink anymore. I want to change my life, Like I want to make something of myself. I'm 22. I'm a UCLA grad. Like I'm someone.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can do
absolutely.
something with my life. And so I just kind of was like, I'm gonna stop drinking. And I just cold turkey right then and there stopped drinking. And that was
Wow.
August. Yeah. And so that was August, right when we got back from New York. And I like that's when I was at Whole Foods.
Okay, because that
I
was going to
kept
be
seeing
my next
that book.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
all
then
from
I
the
got
yeah.
Yeah, I got the Jack LaLanne juicer because at the time, Jack LaLanne,
Yeah,
I remember it was
I
like Jack
remember.
LaLanne, he's like this
Yeah.
fitness guru. And that was actually way after his time, but he came out with some juicer at that time,
Yeah.
like he had already been like some old school, like fitness OG, like influencer. And so I bought his juicer, which sucked. It was like not even juicing everything, like wasting all my fruits and veggies, but I was like, whatever, I'm juicing. And so the point of this whole story was when you get into juicing, if you drink alcohol, if you were like me, I have a family, I come from a family of addiction. My parents had their own struggles with that. And so I have it genetically, I have it, it's in me. I was addicted to alcohol, probably just addicted to the rush, the dopamine hits, which I want to talk about on my podcast as well, like how to get
Oh,
the,
absolutely. There's so
yeah,
many people struggling with that stuff. It's insane.
yeah. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but it wasn't drugs. It was just drinking, because that's the
Yeah.
only thing you legally can do, well, I was 22 by then. I had already been drinking since I was like, I don't know, UCLA. And so, I started juicing and that's how it all came about. I got into juicing like hardcore. Because when you're an addict, you have to switch for a different habit,
Addiction. Like yeah,
addiction. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
That's why
More
some people
healthy.
stop
Yeah.
doing drugs and they get all into the gym and they become like heavy gym rats, because they're like just switching their energy. And if anybody's watching this, and I know you've heard of Grant Cardone, he talks a lot about his
Yeah.
battle with addiction. And he says, if you're an addict, that's great because you can be addicted to something, and he's like, get
Make it
addicted to
something good.
success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it
You
into
know,
the success.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
him. He's
great. Yeah,
so
yeah.
funny. Yeah. And so, that's what happened. I got all addicted to juicing and it was just another liquid that made me feel good. It was replacing alcohol and it made me feel so good. And I was like juicing twice a day, like twice a day. I was like
Okay.
juicing. I got so into it.
So tell me now, physiologically, what are you starting to notice with your body? Name all the different things that started
Yeah.
happening to you,
So I
because I'm
had
assuming it's pretty insane.
Yeah. So as I was doing the juicing, I started eating clean, and the very next month I went vegan because I was at Whole Foods all the time buying all this juice stuff. I was like juice, juice. So what happened is I just had this like I don't even know what to compare it to without being offensive, but it was like this born again Christian feeling. It's just like born again. Like you feel new and you feel just it's invigorating. I had so much clarity. I wasn't all foggy. My skin cleared. I felt so beautiful, to be
Mm,
honest. Like I was just like, wow. I noticed the difference in my face, less puffiness. I think a lot of drinkers have that. You can tell when
yeah,
someone's drinks. You can
yes,
just tell, they look.
yeah,
There's a lot of puffiness. Inflammation is what it is
yeah, inflammation. Yeah,
going
absolutely.
on in their body and in their skin, and you can just tell when you look at someone. And so I noticed that went down, my inflammation. Um, I mean, I had always looked good. I looked phenomenal. To be honest with you, I can't believe I looked like that. It has to be genetics because I was eating McDonald's like every meal. I was eating Rubio's, like mahi mahi fish tacos. Like every meal was fast food. I mean, this was before. So I already looked great, but I did notice when I would look in the mirror, like, oh wow, like my eyes aren't as puffy or sunken in. And I could see the difference. And then I just felt more light, more clean. I
Mm.
felt more clear. Really, more than anything, it was the clarity. And that's why I probably was saying born again Christian because they have this newfound like clarity. And so that's honestly how I felt. I just felt clear. My vision was clear. And after that, I made extremely quick amount of changes. Then I was like working on my business and then I went vegan and it was just like so many blessings happened at once, I was able to choose a better lifestyle. And I knew that, and I didn't drink for 8 years. And then I lapsed on my 30th birthday. And then for 5 years, I was doing it again, not extensively like that, but I would go out and just drink a lot at one time. It wasn't all the time. And so that's even bad. So then 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I stopped again. So it is true, like with alcohol, it's so easy. What happened was I was traveling. I went to Cuba and they were like, Cuba Libre. And I was like, no,
Oh,
no, you no toma. I don't drink. And they're like, oh, they're like shoving it in my mouth. And I'm like, okay. And I just kind of gave in. It was like, my friend was like, why not? It's your 30th birthday. Like, why not? Like, like celebrate. But it's when you do that and you accept toxic alcohol is a toxin. It's literally a
Oh,
toxin. It's just,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, when you accept toxic energy and back into your life, that's, you don't want to do that because it is the gateway to all these other toxic things. And alcohol really doesn't serve a purpose. Nothing really good comes from alcohol. I'm not here to talk anybody. If you're watching, you're like, oh, great, she's telling us not to eat meat, not to drink,
Hey,
alcohol.
this is a health related podcast. You can say anything. And I honestly am the same way. I consume alcohol 3 to 4 times a year. It's a
Mhm.
social thing to do, but it really is pointless, like alcohol itself. I had to force myself to drink beer like when I got to 23, because before then I was like, this is garbage. Like, how does anyone consume this?
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me that you actually enjoy the flavor? Because I'm a food addict, so I will eat things like I would eat food, and that gives me the dopamine release in my body, right? Like the taste that comes from my tongue down into my stomach. But alcohol, I couldn't get it. I'm like, there's no way people are not forcing themselves to like,
Yeah, it's disgusting. That's why they
yeah,
make a face every time they take a shot. They're like,
yeah,
ugh. They're
yeah,
chasing
right.
that
Yeah.
feeling that, the inhibition,
Afterwards. Yeah.
yeah. And one thing I will say about eating healthy, and I tell my best friend this because she's on her health journey right now and she's lost a lot of weight. And I'm just so excited for her, honestly, because to see her change, not just physically, but like mentally and just emotionally, and everything in her life is getting better. And I'm like, wow, like to see it on the outside is this is someone I grew up with most of my life, since I was a teenager, and so now that we're older, we're only a few, I'm going to be 40 in a couple years, so it's like, okay, definitely now take more, care of yourself as you age, but one thing I will say is I told her this and she didn't believe me. And she told me, a few months ago, she's like, you were right. I said, watch when you change your lifestyle, you're going to start craving a green juice. You're going to crave a salad. You're going to crave a piece of fruit. Like you don't think that you would, but once you start eating so healthy and clean and you get in the groove of consistently living a certain lifestyle, you're going to feel off when you don't do it, and you're going to crave it. You're going to have a bad day and you're going to be like, oh, I just need a green juice, like you're just going to crave it. And your taste buds change. Like more, it does. Your taste buds will change and you're not going to crave like pizza or, I mean, we all crave a good piece of pizza or donut or something. Yeah. But on
Yes,
the
I can't
daily,
shake that off.
yeah. But on the daily, it's you're craving, it's not really the flavor, it's that feeling that you're craving. It's the way it makes you feel. And
Oh, let me tell you, I've had uh shy of 5 days. It was like my very first really long fast was like 105 hours, 106 hours, which is just shy of 5 days. And it was no like nasty feeling in my stomach, like I'm starving, like you get that gross feeling in your stomach, like you're going to die if you don't eat food. I didn't have that. It was mental. It was like, man, I remember how good this tastes, or I remember how good that tastes. That sounds really good right now, just to get it in your mouth, to feel the flavor. And it was the same thing with my other really long fast that I went almost 8 days. Exact same thing, because the hunger goes away after the third or fourth day. Your hunger goes away, and then you can coast up to about day 14. Like if you're
yeah,
getting
it's
into
very
that kind of
spiritual. Yeah, I've
extreme.
done water fast. It's very spiritual.
Yeah.
I did the master cleanse and I agree. I think it's more of a spiritual, it's a clarity thing, it's like a
Yeah.
mental, and then you just start thinking and it really does make you think, about life and about your choices. And
Oh, yeah.
that's why I think, that's what I was saying, like, eating real clean. Um, like once you get in the routine or the habit of it, you don't want to lose that feeling. That's why I think vegans, when people first go vegan, they're like, they want everyone to go vegan. They want them to feel this feeling. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
I want you to eat broccoli. It's like, I want you to feel what I'm feeling because I feel so good right now. I feel so clear. Like, and me, when I did it, I didn't even know, I don't even remember if it said it was called vegan in that book. I just remember it saying like, don't eat this.
Plant-based.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if it said plant-based. I can't even remember what it said, but I don't even remember the word vegan back then. Like I don't remember seeing vegan everywhere, vegan, vegan, and plant-based either. I don't even remember what I almost feel like it was just called vegetarian also. You know what I mean? Like back then, I don't remember the word vegan being thrown around so much. But then when I did discover going vegan, living in LA, I feel like I think that's where it like started, you know? But I mean, not really, but really, Santa Monica's the greenest city. It's where everything starts. So when they make a change, the rest of the world makes the change, Like, I mean,
Health type stuff. Yeah.
yeah, health type stuff, like at least, well, not the whole world, but I mean, we all influence each other in different capacities. But I would say the US is definitely heavily influenced by California, what California does,
Oh,
and
yeah.
when it comes to the health, And so I think, when I discovered going vegan, I started discovering all these little like hippie joints, and vegan restaurants. And I got real into the like reggae community because a lot of them they eat ital, and it's not vegan, but it usually does mean vegan. Some of them still do fish and stuff like that, but it just really means coming from a place of eating real clean and nourishing your body and your spirit, and with living vibrations, like
Yeah.
if we're gonna take it there, like, and it's true, it's like living vibrations, because the enzymes. I just had a beet juice actually before this, and I feel a little energized. I was really tired because my baby kept me up last night, and so before this interview, I was like, oh, I just need a green juice instead of getting a matcha or whatever. Usually I was like, no, I need like a juice. I just need a fresh, good juice so I can feel good and uplifted.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to know is like, at first, it's going to be really hard. Any change you make is going to be hard. Think it's easy, as the weeks go by, as the months are just kind of like routine, and I think incorporating more greens and veggies and fruits into your diet is hard at first because you're like, wait, how do I do this? But once you start incorporating, that's why I like smoothies in the morning because then I can just get a bunch of servings of, fruits, vegetables, leafy greens all in one cup, or 2 cups for the day. And then I have tons of clean energy for the day and hydration, as opposed to like a cooked breakfast that's like real heavy. That kind of leaves you a little more lethargic because cooking takes a lot of the nutrients out of the food, and by the time food gets to you, it's already lost about, 30 to 50% of its nutrients because most of the time it's imported, or it's been sitting in the grocery store for days. And, so by the time it gets to you, it's already lost a good amount of the nutrients. Now you're cooking the nutrients. And not to say that some foods shouldn't be cooked, because obviously I believe that you should be cooking, your foods and your grains and stuff. I'm just saying, like, also try to incorporate a lot more fresh, raw veggies and fruits and eat them in their most natural form whenever possible. And that's how you're going to get a lot of nutrients out of your food. And there's a book by Dr. Murad who has the skincare line, and it's called The Water Secret. And I would encourage anyone watching to check that out because he talks about this, and how to get a lot of nutrients out of foods that have a lot of water content in them. So like watermelon, cucumber, celery, and pears and apple, just food that's real juicy. And that water is like 10 times better than like water, because it has so much nutrients, in it. And obviously still drink your water. But, incorporating more fresh food, it's not going to hurt you. It's only going to make you feel better.
Yeah, I found that out myself because like I said, I do like my dairy, I do like my meat. Although the funny thing is, Michaela, I am not eating meat 3, 4 times a week. I'm honestly not even eating it once a week anymore. It's like really weird. Um,
Mm.
but I think the reason why I don't do that is because I do try to do my fasting as much as possible. And so that forces you to like not eat as many times during the week, period. You know what I mean? Like even if I do 24-hour fast, 36-hour fast, that means I only eat like 4 or 5 times a week altogether. Um, so that's been helpful. I think that's another reason why all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute. I am not like a hardcore meat eater like a lot of guys. They're the gym the power lifters, weight lifters, whatever. Um, I'm already like not necessarily vegan, but I'm maybe like halfway there
Yeah.
because I just like drinking, I like I was telling you, I drink like 3, 4 times a year on very special occasions. Um,
How do you feel when you have those few drinks? Like, do you feel the next day, does your skin, like, how does it make you actually feel, like, honestly?
I am Eastern European. So I think for me, my genetics, I am predisposed to being able to handle alcohol very, very well. So as an
Mm.
example, I'll tell you what I did. I literally for it's it's kind of stupid and maybe even a little embarrassing, but I don't think I drank more than once in 2024 last year. And then on New Year's, I was like, I can't even remember the last time I celebrated like with alcohol, how people do the champagne. Maybe it was like 4 years prior or something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna drink because 24 was rough for me, but I
Mm.
also had a lot of things that went really amazing for me. Like I discovered Skool, started making all these connections, started working on my business. Um, coming from like a really rough situation with my ex-wife, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. You know what I did? I hit the tequila bottle because that's my go-to. And
Tequila. In Mexico, there's like tequila.
but now with me, it's insane. Like I was honestly like it didn't phase me. I probably did like 4 shots in the span of like 30 minutes. I
Oh,
kid you
wow.
not. And you know what happened? I just went to bed 15 minutes later. And
Like the
then but I've never in my life, that's the one thing that I'm talking about my specific genes. I have never in my life had a hangover. I don't know what that is. I've never experienced it. Like, and
Oh.
I've gotten really drunk in my life.
What about your like skin the next day is what I meant. Like you don't look flushed or
Not
anything.
at all. Nothing. Like alcohol has very little negative influence on me.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you barely like it's not even part of your lifestyle, you know?
It's not because if I am um going out like to hang out with people, I'd much rather stuff my face with good food. I'm that guy.
I know. That's how I feel too. I'm like, I want to eat. Let's go, like
Yes.
do this. I want to eat.
So, I mean, like I said, that's my addiction. And the other thing you and I have talked about is coffee.
Oh
It's really
yeah.
hard. I know you're trying to get me to not be as much, and I would love not to, but and the funny thing is, um, I didn't drink coffee until I was like 22, 23, and then I
Oh.
just started. But it's it's very acidic, and
Mm.
we already have way too much acidity in our bodies. So we need to offset that. We need to alkalize our bodies, as much as possible to offset all the acidic stuff that's in them. By the way, uh, speaking of cancers, right? So like meat has some carcinogens in it that have been found to potentially, speed up the growth of cancer. Um, Absolutely, sugar is what also gets cancers to grow, and then acidity. And if you think about it, the standard American diet is full of all of that, like
Yeah.
all of it, right?
Yeah. The sad
Processed
fact.
foods, yeah, processed foods have a bunch of extra garbage in it. So
Yeah.
we're talking inflammation, we're talking, stuff that is not made in nature, it's made in a freaking lab somewhere that they put in your food, like, you know, Europe and the rest of the developed world probably well, not probably, they don't allow like 40% of the food that's in the United States to be consumed. Like it's illegal, right? Like it's just disgusting how many things the FDA approves that have no business being approved for consumption, and we're talking like little kids, right? Which another great segue because I do want to talk to you about your little guy is 15 months old
Yeah, he's 15 months,
and
yeah.
he's fully vegan already.
Yeah, so he's vegan.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so he so his dad was like, "Oh, I want him to eat fish." And I'm like, "Let him decide when he is old enough to decide."
Okay,
Like let
did you
him
give him
decide.
fish though? Were you
No,
open to?
he's never had fish or anything. So
Okay.
he's vegan. He's my little plant-based baby. And we just got his iron test done and everything's great. Like this is what I'm saying, like if you really want to know how everything is, go get your panel, go get a panel done of your blood work and you'll know like the results don't lie. Like it
No,
is,
they don't. No, because my
yeah.
cholesterol, I know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And there's ways to lower that and we can talk
Oh,
about
I'm not
that.
even worried about that, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he is extremely energetic and he when I'm around my other friends because I have a few friends, we all had our like babies together and I've had met some mom friends going to these kitty things and so
Yeah.
his other friend is like they're all kind of a week apart and
That
so I've
close?
noticed. Huh?
That close? Like
Yeah,
three,
yeah.
four, five of them that are like super close like
Mhm.
that?
Yeah,
That's
they're like a week
crazy.
apart. Yeah. My neighbor above, she had her son a month after my baby, or I want to say like 3 weeks. And so when we're all hanging out, I've noticed like their babies are just so calm, and like they're just relaxed. They're just chill, like they're not fighting, they're not like doing a bunch of things, they're just kind of you give them a toy and they're just sit there and play with it and maybe they like are a little curious and walk around. Not my baby.
Yeah.
Nope, not my baby. He has so much energy and I'm like, wow. He is like he runs, he doesn't even walk. He just has like one speed like run, and he's so strong. He's in the 97th percentile. He's
Wow.
extremely strong, yeah.
Boy, did you do the
Like
leg test, like pushing my legs or whatever on his legs, and then he pushes or
oh yeah, when I'm changing his diaper, he kicks me like crazy in my stomach, and I'm like,
yeah.
relax, I'm trying to change your diaper. He's a big boy. Yeah, he's not fat though. He's actually lean. Like he's ripped. I'm like my baby's
Like a gymnast.
his little back is so strong. His arms are all defined. He has like little lines on his tummy. I'm like, whoa. So yeah, and he's not thin. Like when I say lean, he still has meat on him. Like his legs are thick, he's just really tall. He's a tall baby. And like he's as big as like the 3, 4 year olds when we go to the park, he's as tall as them, I'm like, wow. And so, he's very energetic and, you know, when we go to the beach, we live in Hawaii, so he is Polynesian too. So, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, what are you feeding that baby?" And then it's like he's vegan,
Plants.
yeah. And then it's like a flex, to say like, "Oh, my
Heck
baby,"
yeah.
like he's so strong, he's ripped, he's has so much energy. He doesn't want to take naps, like he's just go go go. And it's incredible, that he could have that much energy. I'm like, take a nap. Like I need to
He's
rest.
not a napper.
Not no, he'll do his nap every day, but he if I don't put him down to nap, he won't.
Oh.
It'll be like when he finally crashes, which is like, around 1 o'clock ish. But
It's
usually,
like I used to have a dog that I would throw the ball to him and he would chase it until like he passes out. Basically, if I didn't stop him, right? If I didn't stop him, he would just keep going and going. So yeah, I get what you mean.
so it's incredible, and what we feed him is a lot of lentils, beans, all the
Oh,
variety, different sorts of beans. The other day, I even bought some frozen lima beans. And I was like, oh, I used to have these as a kid, because usually we do edamame, the frozen and we boil it, or steam it. And I bought some lima beans and I was like, oh, interesting, I was like, I haven't had these in forever, And so because he loves the little beans from the edamame, it's very similar. So, and they have a lot of protein as well. And so I give him a little bowl of lima beans, and I'll mix it up, stir fry with some veggies, broccoli, carrots. If he doesn't want to eat that, we have something in Hawaii called poi. It's like a pounded potato, basically, a sweet potato, purple potato. And it's like fermented, so it's really, really good for you. It's like the ultimate baby food of Hawaii. And
Really
so, yeah, they say
interesting.
like mix the broccoli in there, but he likes broccoli, but if he doesn't want to eat it, I'll just like mix it with poi and
Yeah.
or some, coconut yogurt, like all natural coconut yogurt. We like cocoa June. But yeah, he eats grains, quinoa, rice, lots of fruit. Every morning we start with fruit, bananas, pears, just sometimes just bananas, like mono meals, just something easy for him to clean him out. And we go play, and he has like strawberries, mangoes, just real clean, and it's interesting because sometimes I'll make him a meal and I'll be like, and then I'll start, I'm like, this is really good. It's so plain and simple, but it's just like sweet potatoes, and black beans and, just like so good, avocado and tomato, just like a little burrito bowl, for him. And he just loves it. And it's just incredible to see how strong he is because I also was like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna have a vegan baby and let's just see how it goes. And he came out the womb big even, and I was vegan my whole pregnancy. I've been vegan 15 years. And so, I was a little concerned. I was like, if the levels drop, I'm gonna maybe have to eat some fish. I've seen some vegans do it, and I didn't want to limit myself to the title of being vegan. I just want what's best for my health, and for me, vegan works.
Yeah.
And I think for most people, vegan works. I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm just saying I've seen a lot of people. Let me segue into this next. I've seen a lot of people cure themselves with veganism, and that's why I'm so passionate about it because, a lot of even my clients, have told me they feel 20 years younger. They can fit into a dress again that they haven't worn since they were young, that they feel less aged, that their skin looks more glowing and tighter, and they just feel so beautiful. And even the male clients that I've had, they have developed better relationships with their wives and the people around them because they feel it's a
Oh,
snowball effect,
it's a yeah, virtuous cycle. I was just going to say absolutely 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
they have clarity. That's what to me the really, like, yeah, vegan cures, it can cure your eczema or help with, take away your diabetes and all these things. But for
Not medical advice,
yeah,
but
not medical
you've
advice.
heard and
Yes,
you've
yes, yes.
seen, yes,
Yes, yes,
experienced. Yeah.
yes. So yeah, exactly. But for me, what with the biggest for me, the biggest part of going vegan was the mental clarity, which is another reason why I didn't want to drink. I was like, I need clarity, I need vision, like I need to see more clearly.
And
I
energy.
Yeah, and energy, I mean, I have 20/20 vision, but like mentally, metaphorically speaking, like I want my life to be better. And what can I do so I can think better and have more focus and just like, and a lot of people have said, going vegan has been life changing for them. So when I have helped my clients, you're for sure going to lose weight, but you have to know what you're doing because I've seen people gain weight going vegan because they're
Really
just, yeah,
interesting.
junk food vegans, and they're just buying all the
Oh,
processed stuff and the fake meats and the transitional foods and which are full of fillers and gums and preservatives and just not really that great for you
so
actually.
there's dirty vegan stuff too. I never knew that was a
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so we try to eat as, a whole foods plant-based
Right.
diet.
Yeah.
So everything kind of I'm making every morning I meal prep for my baby. Every single morning I get up and I make all his food for the day, unless I've made it the night before, and it's all in containers and ready to go, ready for as soon as he starts screaming, I'm like, here,
Yeah.
I got you. I don't have to cook this as I've already cooked it, and even for myself, like meal prepping is a big thing. And, but I think what I see a lot of people doing when they first go vegan is they just kind of don't know what to do, like how I didn't know what to do. And so they just go buy a bunch of plant-based is everywhere right now, marketing wise. It's on everything. I go to the stores, I'm like, obviously corn tortillas are plant-based, like it's like plant-based, and you're like, obviously it's just corn, but and I have a course for this for those who are interested, and I go so deep. It's a 52-week course, and I talk about we can only go so long today, but what I talk about, why organic is important or shopping local and how to shop sustainably and how to buy in bulk and how to cut certain foods out and how to make your own alternatives and substitutes, and how to go oil free, and like there's just all these things that you can do to hack your diet to your specific, your needs, what you're looking to achieve with your diet. And I have tried so many. I have been the guinea pig for so many diets. Like even you're like, I tried keto and this and that, and I haven't done those specifically, but like even going vegan, I was like, I'm gonna do raw vegan, I'm gonna do high fat, I'm gonna do high carb. So I've found what works for my body. And I think that's something that people need to know, whether you're going vegan or just transitioning to a different lifestyle. Like you said earlier, taking it slow and like just doing one thing at a time, because you will overwhelm yourself. Like even trying to eat so clean, healthy, organic, and no sugar, no this, no that. And it just becomes like, I don't care no more. I don't want to be vegan. And that's what I've seen people do. They're like, this is too hard. This is too much. And it's like, it's too much because went on a deep dive to something you've never done in your life. And it's like, I'm going to go fly planes right now. Like, no, you're not going to go fly planes. You're like, you need to like go to flight school and practice it. You know what I mean? Like you can't just go do something that you've never done before and expect to be like you said, you're just an amateur, you're a newbie at this, and it's okay to be a newbie. Like embrace that newbie mentality, because at that moment when, so many geniuses have said this, with an open mind, you can achieve anything, if you're open to learning, how you're open right now. And whoever's watching this, if you're open to learning and changing your life, like take it one step at a time and make time to journal and see what it is that you really want. Like, what do you even really, why would you want to go vegan? Like, what is this going to do for you? What are the benefits? Like, what is this going to do for your life? If you have any health problems and you choose to go vegan, like getting, diminishing or decreasing those health problems, or getting rid of whatever that you're trying to get rid of, how is that going to affect not just you, but your loved ones around you, right? Because for me, one of my biggest reasons for going vegan, aside from like just discovering it kind of after like quitting alcohol, was just my parents' life, and how they affected me, and how I'm so traumatized by them not wanting to take care of themselves, that I went so far left, that, I am now like this vegan, organic, mama, and entrepreneur. And I'm actually embracing teaching people about this, because I am passionate enough to see that there are results that you can achieve if you do it the right way, and I think there's so much to learn about any topic. And when it's broken, like you said, if someone took 15 years of their life and said, I'm going to break this down for you in the most layman way possible, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, at a time, with worksheets and a course, and hold your hand and hop on
accountability.
yeah, accountability,
That's
hop
the
on a
big
video
one.
call and hold your hand and make sure that this gets done. Like, is it worth it to you? Is it worth it to change your life? And like you said, everybody knows what to do not to be obese, but are they doing it? No. So for me, it's preventative. It's knowing like, okay, I don't want to have Alzheimer's. I don't want to not remember, I don't want to not know my grandkids' names in so many years, because, I also had a baby at 36 years old, and, I'll be 46, 56, and they might not have kids at 20. They might wait till they're also 30 or early 30s, and then what? I can't remember anything, I don't
Yeah.
want that, I want a sharp, clear mind. I want to have a daily routine, and I want to feel good about myself, and I want to make other people feel good. And, you can live a vegan lifestyle if it's something that you're willing to pursue, and your kids can get in on it, and everyone can benefit from it. And like you said, one thing I see is a lot of people saying they're eating less meat, and not because they're trying to go vegan. It's just something about it. It's probably all the antibiotics. It's something in it that it's deterring you, where you're like, ooh, I don't actually like this anymore. And so knowing that, you definitely need to learn about your protein sources and what you need, to replace meat if you're gonna take it out of your diet. Like, be very well versed and understanding in what you need to do. And we also don't need as much protein as we think we need, especially if you're not lifting in the gym every day. Like most people are sedentary, they're just kind of sitting.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't need that much protein. Yes, you need some protein. Like this morning, I added protein to my green smoothie, and it was great. I was like, okay, I'm gonna add a little spirulina, some protein. Spirulina has tons of protein in it. It has more protein per gram than steak.
Oh, wow.
Spirulina, yeah. And so, I think just, taking the time to like nitpick, your lifestyle and tweak it here, tweak it a little bit more, tweak it a little bit more, see what's working for you, what's not. In my spa, when I had the spa, I would have a lot of clients come in with skin issues. And some of them I would give non-medical advice. I'd just say, did you ever think of maybe cutting out dairy? It would be full of acne.
Mm.
They're like, no. I'm like, maybe try it,
Yeah.
and see what happens, like it could help, And a few months later, like face is completely clear, because they've cut out dairy or meat, red meat. I've seen that happen with red meat, people cutting out red meat, and it's just like life changing for them, So, and you're right. Some people are like, oh, I love my meat. I gotta have my meat, but it's not really the meat that you want. Like you don't eat raw meat, like you said. Nobody's eating like raw meat. I mean, you're eating raw sushi,
I've
but
seen one guy. I have
a liver
seen
guy, the guy
a
who eats all the
guy,
organs.
not an organ, like the actual steak, uncooked.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually, it's a funny story. I'm not even gonna get into it too much, but this guy literally sat there and in the span of an hour and a half, he was making a YouTube video. He was actually the guy that got me into long-term fasting.
Mm.
He consumed a plate, like probably 3 pounds of red meat.
That's scary. All I
It's
think of is E.
crazy.
coli, salmonella, like all I'm thinking of is bacteria. And I'm just thinking of what's in the cow that, that he's consuming,
Yeah. Yeah. It was it's definitely like a total like extreme, it's in the opposite direction of what we're discussing, but it was shock and awe for me. And I thought
Yeah.
it was disgusting when I watched him do it, but it did the job in terms of it caught my attention, and it was what he was saying about fasting that got me intrigued.
Mm.
I still thought it was crazy to do that. I
Yeah.
was like, didn't even think it was possible or healthy for that matter. But that's how I got into fasting. Very
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah, it was very, very
Yeah.
interesting, but I would
But yeah,
never ever recommend anyone do that ever again. Ever. Yeah, that was insane.
But yeah, and so yeah, I think, most people though, but most people aren't doing that. Most people are cooking their meat, they're seasoning it, they're doing this. So imagine you try something new like lion's mane, which I just discovered like last year. I was like, wow. I always knew about the powder because it's for focus, but I never actually had seen anyone cook with it. But we have a CSA box, a community supported agriculture company over here in Hawaii. It's called FarmLink, and I
Oh, I
ordered
know
from
those.
them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and I ordered from them and they had lion's mane and I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting." It's like this big weird looking mushroom thing and I was like, "Okay, cool. Let me try that out," because they had
Yeah.
posted someone cooking with it and they're like, "It's the chicken of mushrooms," or like I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay. Let's just see." So I got it and you just kind of shred it and cook it and I thought it was chicken. Yeah, I was like looking at it, I was like, "No way." Like it really tastes like chicken. I'm not even kidding. Like lion's mane, you just cook it, and we made like mole, mole, the black
Yeah.
Mexican sauce.
Yep.
So we
Yep.
did mole, lion's mane tacos with the blue corn tortillas, like non-GMO. Like it was so
Wow.
freaking phenomenal. Yeah, with like guac and just everything, all the toppings. And I was like inhaling those. I was like, this is delicious. And I never would have thought to cook a mushroom like that. Like you saute mushrooms and portobello and different mushrooms, but I never thought that a mushroom could taste like chicken. But I had an open mind. And like I said, like you didn't even need to season it. It just had the flavor on its own. It just had the flavor. But I think most people, they're like, oh, I love my meat. I love this. But it's like, would you love it if you didn't put all that sauce and seasoning on it? Like, and if you love the texture, like I said, there's a mushroom called lion's mane that has that meaty texture. There are other things that have those textures, but it's hard for some people because our whole entire lives we have been accustomed. Like I said, me growing up Mexican, like most of my Mexican side, carne asada, all the time, every weekend, and like that's just how it's gonna be, like carne asada tacos and meat this and meat that. And then, my understanding of food was always like also, and this is a whole nother topic, but like finish all your food,
Yes, that's a
don't
Mexican
waste,
thing. Well, the
yeah, it's
thing is
Mexican.
in Mexican culture, because my
Don't
my
waste.
ex was yeah, my ex was Mexican, but it's like if they tell you to eat, there's no option. Like you eat,
Your,
and then
your
they keep
eyes, you're like
giving it
all
to you.
traumatized.
Yeah, they keep feeding you, right? Like you keep eating more and
Yeah.
more. But luckily for me, that was actually perfect because I was looking for anything and everything that I can eat because I had come from having lived in Japan for 5 years and totally not into Japanese food whatsoever. Like I was actually disgusted by it. So when I came to the US, it was like a type of addiction for me. That's how I
Yeah.
became addicted to food. Like people would ask me, like, what do you do? And a lot of times I used to joke, I'm like, I'm a professional eater because like I thoroughly enjoy food. Like it's one of the like, few enjoyments in life that is just like it's so wholesome, you know what I mean? Like, and especially when you do it with like good people that you like hanging out with. So I love that. I love going out and trying different things, but um my problem was that I had this scarcity mentality that I brought with me from Japan that like I thought I would run out of food, whatever it was. And so I
Yeah.
started binge eating
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was bad. It was a struggle for many, many years. And that's why I ended up getting into fasting because I
Mm.
decided, just like you make a decision to start living a healthier lifestyle by doing like juicing and vegan, for me, I was like, this is unsustainable. This is definitely not healthy. And then, like I'm a man of faith. So like in the Bible, they talk a lot about like, what do you worship? Right? Like I didn't want to be this gluttonous man. I didn't want to like be all about just consuming everything and anything that I can. I didn't want to make my food be my God. Like I don't want to worship food, right? So that's why I was like, okay, this fasting thing, like we were talking about earlier, it's spiritual, but also you literally like train yourself to not be as addicted. It's like a pattern interrupt. Like it's like, okay, this is enough. I've been doing this for way too many years. Like I thought it was going to go away within like a year or two since I came here, but it lasted for 20 years. Like
Oh, wow.
yeah, I still, if I see a box of chocolate, give me like Ferrero Rocher,
Yeah.
I'll eat 20 of them, like in one
Well,
sitting, right?
it's good that you have the self-control to
I am
acknowledge that.
getting there.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm always overly realistic. Like that's the one thing that I would always claim is that I'm never in denial about something that's a fact. Because a
yeah,
lot of people, unfortunately, I don't know what it is mentally or psychologically, but they're in denial about a lot of things, right? If you
yeah.
tell someone you're a certain way, they're like, "No, I'm not." Like, I mean, even if you see it like again, without getting offensive to certain people, it's like if you see someone that's overweight, like, hey, that person's kind of like, heavy set or whatever. And people get offended so easily. And it's
Mm.
like, well, but like are we not looking at the same thing? Like when you look in the mirror, are you really not acknowledging the fact that
And
you're
and the
overweight?
thing about obesity, that it's not just like, oh, physically, like you're obese, but what happens is you start having all these other problems, PCOS, this, that,
Oh,
because the amount of
yeah.
fat, it's clogging your veins.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
everything is clogging. And so then things can't run the way they're supposed to. And I mean, we could, that's a whole nother talk, but basically like, and then your circulation, and then you start having, and this is how like diabetes comes about and all the
Oh,
sugar and,
so many.
there's all these complications that come with gaining weight. So it's not even about like you're big. It's about like you're gonna have health problems. If you don't have them right now, they're coming very soon, and it's gonna be very hard to reverse those health problems. And it can be done, with medical disclaimer, vegan diet, it can be done with going vegan. I've seen a lot of things be reversed just by cutting out. It's not even that you're going vegan, it's just that you're cutting out foods that
The
are,
processed
yeah,
food, right? Like
yeah, the processed foods.
yeah, I want to
And
make a
and just
video
certain
about,
fats, like you know, the red meats, like honestly, like after a while, like I know someone who eats kind of like you, but he's been doing it a long time, and he eats a lot of meat, and he has colon. Now he's having a lot of colon issues where everything's backed up and he has to take like fiber pills. And it's like, just eat a piece of fruit. You know what I mean? Like, just eat the fiber. Like, why are you
yeah,
taking fiber pills? Like, just eat fiber, like real food,
yeah,
And so I think because he's having so many health problems now with his gut and his colon after so many years of doing that, he can't like poop, you know? And so he's having health issues. So he's starting to reverse, his eating as well and just lay off the meat, because it worked for him for a while and he was all gung ho about it and then it didn't.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think people do things long term and they start like even raw vegan. I've seen a lot of people do raw vegan for a while and then they start like having hair loss and like gut issues because there's nothing cooked. So everything's just running through your stomach.
I was going to say this to you because there's like, I've seen pictures online of those people, and I've seen one extreme that I don't know if it's a true thing, right? Like, because 95% of the stuff you see online is fake, and they do it just like for sensationalism or to like um get clicks and likes and whatever. Um, but I've seen a picture of some lady that's missing a bunch of teeth, and it's my people, which are the meat eaters, making fun of her and saying, "Oh, she's a vegan, and that's what happens to you." And I highly doubt that that's the case.
Yeah.
Um, it's not just that you're vegan. If that were a real picture, I would say this person probably also only eats once a day, and they probably do the raw vegan thing, and maybe they
Yeah,
only
well,
eat like two or three different sources of food, where it sounds to me like when you're vegan, you got to eat like a big variety of different types of
yeah.
like 20, 30 types of,
I mean, and someone who's a meat eater could look like that too. You
yeah.
know what I mean? They could also have no teeth and and
It's
and
the point is don't be extreme, right? Like
yeah,
don't
yeah, that's the
be,
point is to
yeah,
like have a very variety of foods. And really the point is to educate yourself more than anything. Aside from being extreme, like if you don't know what you're doing, like seek education,
mhm.
get a book, hire a coach, do what you need to do to learn more about yourself. And then you'll know what works for you. But I think for me, that's why I hired my chef and I had my chef for 9 months. And, we're still friends till this day, 15 years later, because she had already 14 years of experience being a vegan chef and her dad had a farm that she grew up on her whole life and like this was the person to know because she knew exactly what nutrients I needed to go and run like a 10K every day and bike like for miles and swim. I was doing like an extensive amount of working out, but even then I remember it wasn't a lot of like protein. It was a lot of fruit at that time, the carbs, right, for the energy and the aminos and also like protein's just the middleman. I mean, I don't want people to get mad, but it's the truth. If you can do your own research, it's the middleman for the aminos. What we need is aminos for our muscles and to repair things. And that's why you see like meatheads walking around the gym. They're drinking the BCCAs, they're drinking the aminos.
Yeah,
And that's what they're drinking, to feed their muscles and give them the energy, and,
yeah.
and really they could just, if you don't have money to buy the powders, just drink a fruit smoothie, eat some fruit. You know what I mean? Like that
Well,
has that you
yeah,
need.
yeah, that's what you would want to do, before and after workout. Like your
Yes.
bodies need the sugars to transport everything into your like your bloodstream, like the protein. But um you're right about um people do not need that much protein, because protein is if you want to build muscle. And if you're sitting at home doing nothing, it's waste, like your body doesn't absorb it.
Yeah.
So like for me, like for example, they say, oh, eat like a gram uh per pound of desired body weight. So like if I want to be 170 grams, they're like, okay, we'll try to get 170 grams of protein, which is extremely hard, by the way. Like it's really hard to get 170 grams of protein. But as comparison, if I wasn't working out, if I wasn't trying to get to like 170, the average person probably only needs like a third of that. I would say even
Totally.
180
Yeah.
pound man that's fairly healthy, which most of the men are not. Well, most people in general. Uh, if you're overweight, if you're one of those people, it kind of defeats the purpose. You don't want to be eating a bunch of processed food. You don't walk, don't move, acidic stuff, and then go around and be like, wow, I gotta get my 180 grams of protein. No,
Yeah.
you're the guy that needs like 40 a day. That's it.
Yeah.
Like if you're just sitting there, if you're overweight, like there's no reason for you to be acting like you're this healthy guy that goes to the gym 5 times a week and lifts like fairly heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's why I think also like people need a coach. Like you hire someone to coach you in working out, and then you can hire someone that can guide you on your health journey as well. And for me, for my clients, what I coach them through is not just their food, it's their overall lifestyle because there's so much more that affects you than what you're eating. Eating is to me one of the biggest things, like they say you can't out train a bad diet.
Yeah.
Um, but I think one of the quotes that I always like go back to is, you know, health is not valued until sickness comes.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah, like people don't care about their health until they're like, oh no, like the doctor's like, you have to make a change today. And like, that's why a lot of people with cancer and stuff, sometimes, a lot of them, the doctors will tell them, like, you need to go vegan. Like, I'm not even telling them, the doctors are telling them. And
Yeah.
then they come to me because they're like, oh, I have diabetes or I have this or that, and I need to cut out I need to figure out how to replace these proteins or these nutrients in general, like how can I get more nutrients? And then I can guide them through that. But I think an overall lifestyle haul is what most people need. Getting outdoors, getting sunshine, having a hobby, something that makes them happy so they're not reaching for food. Instead, they're reaching for a guitar or for, to write poetry, or they have just something, pottery, or just something that fulfills their soul that is not about money. And I had this conversation earlier in the week with my good friend about how um, she loves making like these cake pops. And she's like, I'm like, oh, how's the cake pop side hustle going? And she's like, I don't know, like I want to do it but I don't want to, and I have this and that. She's all busy and she's like, I don't know. I was like, yeah, what happens is when you try to turn your hobby into a side hustle, for most people it takes the fun out of it and you don't enjoy it anymore, and now you're just trying
Mhm.
to make your next buck. And so you need something that's not related to money, that can make you happy, that can fulfill you spiritually, mentally. You need something in every area of your life basically that can fulfill you. They say find something to fulfill you mentally, find something to fulfill you spiritually, like you were saying earlier in this call. Like you
Yeah.
need something for every area. And I think what my gift is, like, helping someone harness that energy and help them find what works best for them and their routine and their life. Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Are they empty nesters? Are they, are they fulfilled in their job? Do they not want
The
to do that
job's a
job?
big one. Yeah, I was just gonna go there and you beat me
Oh
to it.
yeah.
But yeah, the job, there's so many people that are so miserable at their job. And as you know, that's like a huge emphasis in my community. I want to rescue 10,000 people from their dead end job that they hate and have them start their own business, any kind of business. Just don't go back to like a W-2 job. But it's not easy. I mean, it's just so crazy how, people have been brainwashed for so many years. Uh, but yeah, that's big. And a lot of people don't realize, like we're talking about the snowball effect. It only takes one positive change in your life. Maybe it's start living healthy lifestyle, go vegan. All of a sudden you have this mental clarity. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. We were not created to be working W-2 for 40 years of our life, give up our health, only make as much money as they tell us that we're going to make. And then next thing you know, you have not very strong relationship with your kids because you were that workaholic type,
Yeah.
and you have a bad health. Now you're retired at 65, 68, whatever, or maybe you can't even retire, whatever the circumstances. There's
Yeah.
just so many things that I think it's a trap to be working in a W-2 job, other than maybe 10% of the people out there. I'm going to put it out there. I know there are people that, W-2 job is probably good for, but bottom line is, do you wake up every morning and look forward to going to work? And I highly doubt it's anywhere near 10%, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it is probably 10% of the people, right? Whereas if you truly do something that you love doing, that you're passionate and knowledgeable about, you know that that's your gift that your creator gave you, and you get to make a positive difference for other people, like what we're doing with the coaching thing, it's like, how much better can it get? You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Fully fulfilled, I mean, there's always going to be ups and downs in life, but to have like that peace of mind is like bliss, it's like Buddha level, it's like, oh, I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
I'm living this healthy lifestyle. Like, and I think like, it's funny when you see people like, it's just so funny. Like me, I'm very like happy-go-lucky. I'm always smiling. I'm always waving to people. And well, we already moved, but I'm at my condo right now. I have a beach condo, but we moved to a bigger house. But in this community, it's an older, like more of a retired community here on the beach in Hawaii. And some of them, I will say this because I think it's so important.
Cranky, cranky.
They're so mean. Yeah. And it's crazy to see the difference in who's mean and who's not. And
Yeah.
it's just what I'm observing. It's just what I see. It's my environment. It's what I've saw for 7 years. I noticed this and the same people I see every day for 7 years. Um, the healthier ones are so happy. They're like on the beach picking seashells, making seashell art, diving, taking pictures of turtles. We have turtles. There's a lagoon in my backyard, so there's like turtles,
Yeah.
and they're like all into it. And then you see the cranky people, who have maybe carrying a little extra weight, which extra weight doesn't even have to mean like
In and of
just
its own,
physical.
correct.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's its own, it
But
could
it's a
be
good
mental.
predictor.
Exactly. And they're just like, I'm like, hi, auntie, like, hey, or I just smile and they're like, like,
Oh,
"Ooh,"
yeah. I
and
forgot
it's just
about
like,
that. Auntie is a
dang,
thing
like,
there. Yeah.
oh, like, yeah, like, how come you don't smile back? Like, what is going on in your life that you're so miserable that you don't even want to smile back at me ever? I'm
Well,
always smiling at you.
well, not only that, but like they
You live on the
live
beach
in
too.
Hawaii. I was gonna
Why?
say
Yeah.
sunny. It looks like it's a nice place you got there. You got your own lagoon. I'm sure it's not some kind of shack. So it sounds like these people are like fairly well to do, live in Hawaii. What do you have to be like cranky about?
That's what I'm saying. And I think they just don't live a positive, healthy lifestyle. And so
That's
it's not
right.
just with eating. I think like when I look at them, they just don't look happy. They don't look fulfilled. And I remember one time one of the lady we were leaving the beach coming in through the gates because it's a gated community. And we were coming in through the gate and it's a fob. And one of the guys outside said, hey, hold the gate as this lady was walking in. And she pulled the gate real fast and locked it on him. And I looked at her and I looked at him and I was like, because we're all neighbors, we were all just
Yeah.
on the beach together. Like, him, he's not like some stranger. Also, it's a private beach. It's hard to get to. There's no
Oh,
parking in the neighborhood. So you know that he lives here. Like you've seen him, we've seen each other at the beach all the time. So we were coming in because we all sit at sunset and hang out. And so we were coming in after the sunset and she closed the gate and I was like, oh, and I looked at him, I was like, that was weird, and I was like, I wonder why she did that. Like I was so like, that's weird. And he's like, because she's lonely.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, and she
Well,
was lonely. She was mean to us. And once we came through the gate, 'cause she didn't hear that conversation, but once we came through the gate, I still smiled at her and she just did not want any part of it. Like she was so angry with us. It was so weird. And to see us so happy and not want to, like, you can even sit with us, join us. Like we're all chilling, we're watching the sunset, everyone's welcome, like it's fine. We all have little dogs and I have my baby and we're all just cruising, it's just the local lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like we're at the beach, like
yeah.
no judgment, I didn't have makeup on, nothing. It's just like we're chilling. And she just didn't want to be a part of that. So anyways, it's just your mentality. It's what you choose. Do you want to choose a healthy lifestyle? You want to choose this toxic lifestyle? What, like you said, you're not fulfilled. You're not happy. You're not, and working out isn't about looking great. It's about feeling great,
It
eating
releases the
healthy. Yeah.
endorphins. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it makes like when I work out for the day, oh my goodness, I am such a different person. I'm so happy. I'm like, I'm not like as irritable. Like today, I didn't work out in the morning, and I could tell, because I was irritable with my son. When I told you the story, he threw the
Yeah.
tantrum, you know. But I think But when I like meditate and journal in the morning, which is normally my regular routine, and then I work out, I'm just like, hi everybody, it's just like, yeah, like life is so good, and you feel great, and nobody can bring you down once you've had a great day. You're just like, whatever. But I think that's what I'm noticing is like here, just living with elderly people, and I can see the difference in who lived a good life and who didn't. And they'll even tell you, oh, the mistakes I made, and you're on the beach, they'll tell you their stories of what they wish they would have done when they were younger growing up. And so I love being around elders because they're just so wise and
Oh
you
yeah.
learn so much, from them. So I think,
Yeah.
my takeaway from this is really you get what you give, and sometimes you have to give a lot to get a lot and put into it what you want out of it, and if you want this healthy lifestyle, it's not easy. It's not. Meal prep is time consuming,
Well,
all of it.
a big thing uh, that I talk about is being intentional,
Hmm.
and specifically being intentional with the choices and decisions that you make throughout your lifetime. And I've made a few videos about it. But, if you think about these people or people that are struggling in certain area in their lives, there are at least two major decisions that they did wrong. First one is they never decided that they want to be done with it. Just like you decided you wanted to be done with alcohol, you were like, I'm done. I'm like really sick and tired of this lifestyle. It's not good. There's no upside to it whatsoever. And you made that choice and you started doing the vegan thing, right? The second thing I think that a lot of people do is they make a choice to ignore the bad stuff. And maybe that even comes before the first one that I talked about, which is to say that I'm sick and tired of this, right? So if it was like, let's say, a job situation, you got to make a decision that this is not going that well. And it's the sixth job that I had that is not going well. Something's got to give, something's got to change. Oh, hey, maybe I should try and bet on myself. Maybe I should try and figure out a way to earn a living a different way,
Yeah.
because this thing happened in my one job. Like, I had a horrible boss. My other job, I had these coworkers that were gossiping all the time. This other job, you know, I was getting paid, peanuts. This other job was boring. Like, I felt like I wasn't contributing anything positive to anybody. I was just making a paycheck. The money was good, but, you know, so it's looks like it's challenging for people to just make a decision that I draw the line here and I'm going to get better going forward in this regard or this area of my life. So, for example, these people you're talking about at the beach, it's possible they were miserable in a job for 40 years.
It could be. It
And
could be.
and you literally could just become broken and never get out of it, right? Like, a lot of people will think, "Oh, I'm going to take it for 40 years and then I'll retire and it will be fun." And guess what happens? They were totally wrong. Now
Mhm.
you've been that kind of mentality all these years that you're no longer capable of making the change 40 years later. Your brain is just so broken.
Yeah.
Instead, what you should have done is, when you were 25, when you were 30, when you were 35, at some point something should have said to you, this is not working out. Let me do something about it. But even if that happened, there's also this other voice in your head that's like, no, 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 trust me, you know, this is the way, this is what they've told us ever since you were little, and man up, right? Like, don't be a
Yeah.
wuss. That's the kind of stuff that you hear yourself, that you hear maybe even your family tell you, like, oh, you're gonna quit your job, what are you gonna do? When the reality is, you don't have to quit your job cold turkey and with no savings and put your family in jeopardy. The reality is, the decision you could have made is, let me see what else is out there that I can start looking into. Start it as a side hustle, but then the idea is that you want to build it to be a full-time income.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I think in this day and age, there are so many different ways for people to earn a living that's not a W-2 job.
I'm gonna grab my charger. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go for it. You're totally fine. So, yeah, I think you should always look to better yourself just one tiny little bit, and always you should swing the bat. That's the thing. For some reason, so many people are afraid to like swing the bat. And you've mentioned a couple of times that, like, you started well, you started really young making money and like hustling and stuff like that. But you said that you owned the spa and that
Mhm.
you had your first business when you were 19, was it right out of UCLA? Or tell me a
Yeah,
little bit
so
about that because
when
the
I was like
average,
21, 22 is when I started. I think I was like 22 when I started cleaning a maid service in LA. It was like a professional green, it was a green cleaning service.
oh
So
yeah,
we targeted the West LA, conscious community that had money. You know, Beverly Hills, Culver City,
oh yeah,
Santa Monica, um, the place that, you know, up there,
oh
Pacific Palisades,
yeah, I was
like
gonna say
all
yeah.
that, all the area that are more conscious, and people, a lot of moms and people with pets, because they didn't want toxic cleaning chemicals on their floors, because babies and pets are
Yeah,
always stuff off the floors eating them.
yeah.
And so back then, I started that. But yeah, I think, and then the spa was really fun, and I sold that because I had a burnout and I just realized it wasn't working for me anymore. And I think that's another thing is when you're talking about these people with these jobs, forever, and when COVID came and a lot of people didn't want to vaccinate and then they lost their jobs. And I think that was honestly such a blessing in disguise for so many people. And I think a lot of people can learn from that.
Half
And
and half. Some got thrown into it and figured out a way to make money other than a job, but other people, unfortunately, I think it cost them a little bit,
yeah,
or a
so
lot.
some people
But
made the
yeah,
most out of it. Some
yeah.
people just took the hit and let that happen, and it's up to you to decide if, okay, I'm about to lose my job. What can I do right now? What can I do to make money? How can I start? Who can help me with this? A lot of
Mm.
people I know personally hopped online when Hawaii was the last to reopen, so the brick and mortars, I had a brick and mortar, I had to wait 8 months to open up my business.
Mm.
Um, and so, even me, I was pre-selling packages, like you just had to figure something out quick, and those that did, and those that were just like, lost my job. Oh, wow. I mean, I feel bad for everyone who did lose their jobs, but all I'm saying is some people figured it out and they pivoted and they took that and ran
Because
with
they
it.
made the decision. They made the
Yes.
decision
Yeah,
that I will not allow this thing to take me down.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the difference, right? Like they were like, it is what it is. No one saw it coming, but am I gonna lie down and die or am I gonna do something about it? And there were these people that made the decision, if they were successful in their thinking,
Mhm.
they cleaned up like the early adopters, the people
They
that got
had the
started
clarity of
first.
thought, the
Oh,
clarity of
yeah. And
mind.
they got
Yeah.
ahead of it. Yeah. And they saw where the online thing was going and they made a lot of money, and
Yeah,
good for them.
and I wish I jumped on that bandwagon at the time, because
We
I
all
saw
do. Yeah.
people times 10 blow up their business within
Yeah.
like 2 months, 3 months. I was like, whoa. But for me, what I saw was, because I was a business owner at the time, and we would do a giveaway like every week in the first year of my business. So I had all these relationships, connections with so many other local businesses, which are very like local, like buy local to support the local economy, like Hawaii, and then we have the tourism that supports the economy as well. But I remember talking to some of the business owners and being like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do? And then other people were like, "Oh, I'm shipping products. I'm doing this. I'm doing that." So it was like connecting with your community, and that takes it back to why it's important to have a community of people who believe in you, like us. Just this is even a community. Even just two people makes a community.
For
You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a team, it's an effort. And so I think when you have someone who believes in you, it makes you believe in yourself more. You're like, oh, okay, okay. Like now these people are like, they're depending on me, or, they believe in me. They're holding me accountable, and I gotta do this. And so I think, that's when I saw that people were doing that, I was like, okay, what can I do? Because I still have mortgage due this month, and for 8 months I haven't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I have all
Bills.
the
Yeah.
bills still, and I still want to eat organic, and so then I started pre-selling packages, and I had only been open a year before the pandemic hit. And so I had built so much trust though in that first year, like crazy. I bootstrapped
Yeah.
6 figures in my first year, and I built tons of trust within my local community. I didn't even know these people. These were just random new customers, but they were just, oh my gosh, I was killing it in that year. And then they would spend, and then I was selling like thousands of dollars worth of packages during the pandemic. And I was surprised how many people trusted me to give me that amount of money and just wait until we opened up to see me again. Not being
Yeah.
like, oh, let's do a house call, or, oh, it wasn't even like sneaky, shady stuff. It was like, okay, see you when I see you, here's a few thousand. I'm like, wow, like people trust me,
Because you're treating them right. That's the whole thing
they saw the
about it.
professionalism,
Yeah.
yeah, and just like the way that I did business was very like
Hmm.
trustworthy. So I think also believe in yourself, but have an ethical, like moral compass, where you're doing things the right way, and
Oh yeah.
live that lifestyle, live the healthy, mentality, healthy lifestyle, so that you can believe in yourself, and feed yourself with positivity and high vibration. Like let's just take it back to that.
Yeah.
If you want to go out and leave your job and make this big change or go vegan or whatever you're going to do, like commit to it, like see it through and believe
Yes.
in yourself, because I even tell people in your first year of doing, like, all my friends have seen me do businesses. They're like, I'm going to do a business. And I'm like, okay, well, start it now. Because sometimes it's, depending what you're doing, it could take a whole year to get started. Like my friend's doing a clothing line, and it's a specific type of, it's like a UPF clothing line. And she wants she's doing all this research, and then she has to get her trademark. And, there's all these things for that specifically that it's going to take a year. And I'm like, see, I told you start this years ago, because you can't even just launch today. You don't even have, uh, your sewing machine, like you don't even have a designer, you don't have any patterns, you don't even
Yeah.
have your fabrics, like you still have to pick all that out, and get your name certified, and there's so much to it, but you just have to do it, and know that it's not going to be easy. That's one thing I want people to know, like nothing is going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
That's
That
right.
saying, if it
Yeah.
was easy, everyone would be doing it,
Exactly. 100%.
but it's not. That's why there's the 2% and the 1%, of these people who will make it happen, like Cristiano Ronaldo, when he had that accident, and then he like showed up right away to his practice, it was just like straight from his accident,
I've
to
seen
back
those
then.
people. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
just like still got to make it, it's just like gung ho, so I
Yeah.
think, obviously like be intentional, like you said, but I think when people are making a big lifestyle shift, I think the most important thing is having support and a community. Like,
100%. Yeah. Again, I think that people that are successful, probably the main thing that they've recognized and realized is that you have to get there fast. So there is a saying that pretty much anybody is going to make $1 million,
mhm.
but are you going to make it in 40 years time, or are you going to make it in a month? That's it. It's the speed. It's the speed to get to where you want to be. And that's why I was saying earlier with the health thing, it's no joke. You don't have time to waste and sit and experiment and try things. Even if you're younger, even if you're 25 or 30, right? If you're serious about it, I would much rather say get involved in a community, hire a coach first,
Mhm.
learn 10 years worth of stuff, and then experiment yourself for the next few years. And if you have to go back to the coaching thing, versus fumble around on your own for 10 years or so and then be like, oh, I need a coach now. And then you get the coach, and then they tell you this stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done this 10 years ago, because she just gave me 20 years worth of stuff that she's done and experimented with herself. They're borrowing your experiences, your experimentation with yourself, and you're applying that to that person's specific situation. That's what we do essentially, right? Like if I'm trying to tell someone that's like my age, for example, like, hey buddy, like have you ever thought about like actually making a money without working a W-2 job? And they look at you and they're like, no. I'm like, bro, you told me you hate the last 4 jobs that you worked at, and you told me you're barely keeping up with like, inflation. They just give you 2-3% annual increase. And we all know inflation is not really 3%. It's more like 10%, except the government lies to you and tells you it's only 3%. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, I guess so. But like, what if you found me 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I gave you this idea that, hey, maybe there's better ways to earn a living or different ways to earn a living or whatever, right? So don't waste time is my point. The time is now, the time is yesterday. You're serious about your health? Boom, do it right now. spend a little bit of money, and borrow that person's whole amount of time that they've been uh, an expert in this particular field. They've done all the experimenting on themselves. They've done all the research, reading the books, watching, whatever, and they can now help you make that massive leap in 6 to 12 months, whatever. In my business, 6 to 12. I think it's probably pretty similar for you.
Yeah, for me, 6 months, I feel like it's
Yeah.
that saying a lot can change in 6 months,
Oh,
like your whole
yeah.
entire life can flip in 6 months. And if you're
Yeah.
consistent.
And it's true. And you know what the thing is that really makes me mad is that I would tell this to people, you can change your financial future. And oh, by the way, when you change your finances, now you start that virtuous cycle because you're no longer stressed, worried about making money or going to a job that you hate. Like it opens up so many doors. Now you free up time. Like what I'm doing is like I'm freeing up time so I can now start going to the gym. Then the gym puts me in a better mood. When I'm in a better mood, I eat healthier. I'm more productive in my business. I have more clarity. All these things start happening. So people are still, for some reason, in denial that 6 months is a long time. Like if you become laser focused and you do the right thing for this one area of your life, in 6 months, it can feel like it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Yeah.
Like with you, I'm sure people a lot of times might come and say, oh, am I going to lose weight? But you probably are going to tell them like, well, guess what? If you do it with me, losing the weight is like a guarantee. Like you don't even have to try. But guess what? You're going to get all these other benefits along with losing the weight because the weight is going to happen automatically.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's the easiest part. It's not even about the weight loss. That's why I don't even want
It's
to push.
not.
For me, it's not like, oh, you lose weight, lose weight. It's like, yeah, you're gonna lose weight, like, of course, like you said, but what
Yeah.
else is gonna come? Like your whole life is gonna change,
Yeah.
You're not gonna be stuck in this cycle of like starving yourself and doing this and doing that. And you're just gonna be like, oh, I feel great. Like, I want to have a smoothie. Like, you should see when I'm at home. Like, I've also, like how you were saying, like, oh, I binge. And sometimes like, what else is in the fridge? Like last night I cooked this
Yeah.
hearty, oh my gosh, I made this amazing like dal, which I haven't cooked in like years. I used to be super into Indian food, and I like started cooking and I was like, oh, I don't have any broth. I didn't make broth. So I was like, my man's like, go get some, So I like,
Yeah.
okay, like I hopped in the car, like went to the grocery store to like grab more ingredients right in the middle of cooking. It was so funny. I came back and the whole house smelled like it was like diced onions and ginger and garlic, And I was like, "Ooh, smells like onions in here." And he was like, "Yeah, I've been crying," And I was like, "Okay, I'm back," And I made this dal and it was so good. We had like multiple bowls of it. Like I wasn't even hungry after, the first bowl, but I had another bowl because I was like,
So
and
good. Yeah.
it was so good. And I had like coconut milk in it and like all the seasonings. I made my own seasoning. I made the mix, the garam masala mix, and it had like light fat coconut milk. And oh, it was just so good. And even the way I cooked the quinoa, like I added lemon juice to it and some cumin. And, it was just so good. It
Yeah.
was just a lot of aromatics. And I was just like, wow. And like I've been thinking about it all day because I'm gonna have it again for dinner, like leftovers and and it's just like, oh,
I
I
do
just
that too. I
love,
daydream about food
yeah,
too.
yeah. I'm like, oh, I
Hey,
can't wait,
I'll tell you what I'm daydreaming about now. You probably don't want to hear it, but oh my gosh. So we fly out of LAX. So we're flying out of there on Saturday. And so like this whole week, I just found out, I kid you not, like on I think it was Sunday or Monday, like 5 days ago. I found out. So I used to live in Cali. I went to Fresno State. And when we used to go down to LA, like In and Out was guaranteed thing. And then they opened one in Fresno. So I found out that hotel that we're staying next to the airport like has an In and Out burger like 3 minute walking
Oh
distance.
yeah, I know where
Literally,
it's at. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's Escondido. Yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh, I have been like dreaming about that forever. So I can't wait till Saturday. Let's see when we get there. We get there like 6:30 at night. So it'd be perfect for like a big dinner, and I'm probably gonna end up staying up until like midnight because when I'm full, it's hard going to sleep, and it's bad for you, by the way. It's like it's really bad, like eating. They say 2 hours before bedtime, but it should be more like 5 or 6 hours if you
But
were
I
to
think
ask
if you're
me.
on vacation, this
It's
is the time
different,
to
yeah.
splurge. Yeah,
Yes,
it's like, okay,
yes, yeah.
some of the rules go out the window
Oh
and
man, yeah. So, but anyway, uh, I know how that feeling is like if you're thinking about like, oh yeah, what am I gonna eat tomorrow? Oh yeah, I got that one thing in the fridge. But
Uh,
let me ask you this. So tell me about, so you have a school community,
mhm.
and then you also have the website, and then on the website, uh, that book, by the way, is excellent. Your PDF, like your ebook, is
Oh,
phenomenal.
thank
I don't know.
you.
Yes, I
Yeah,
don't know how long it took you to put it together, but it's absolutely fantastic.
thank you.
And then so you have the 52-week thing that is like a new
Yeah, so I have my
lesson.
52-week drip course. So it just strips one
Yes,
hour a week for 52 weeks. So it's 52 hours of content. And
nice.
if they want to search up the facts, like go to the facts on my website, livetheveganlifestyle.com, and then scroll down to the facts, and it has each topic for each week. So they can look at the course content. And it also breaks it down into 7 phases so that you can slowly integrate your lifestyle in the course of 1 year. So you can become vegan within a year
Yeah,
if you do the course.
that's the
And then,
slow way or the
yeah, that's
fast
the slow
way.
way. And the fast way is hiring me and let's just get to work right now, like let's
Yeah.
just go chop chop. And so I'll guide you through it. And with my coaching, I provide meal plans, and I really go deep with my clients, to be honest with you. Like I can't even describe all of what I provide because it's just so much. But my last client, we figured out that, occasionally she liked to eat out with her husband, and we figured out some healthier restaurants, and we looked at the menus together, and I figured out some things she could order each time she went to these restaurants because he loved to eat out, and, just how to ask for certain things that she wanted. On her own, she wanted to go vegan, so she went vegan, and she felt amazing and lost a bunch of weight and got off her diabetes meds and showed me her.
Oh, that's why you
Yeah,
were
so that was
saying
a
that.
win.
Wow. That's an
Yeah,
actual client you had. Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Very
And
cool.
she got her labs done, and it showed like everything went, her levels and everything was just, increasing, like just getting better. And so, yeah, she actually, it snowballed because then after she got into all this, lifestyle changes, all this healthy lifestyle stuff, her daughter got involved as well, and then they started working out together and
Adult daughter or like what age?
yeah, adult daughter. Yeah, in her 20s, like her late
Wow,
20s. Yeah.
very
She
cool.
started getting into it, and they got this mare like workout thing. It's a mare that goes on the wall, and it tells you how to
Oh,
work
yeah.
out. And then they started taking walks around the block and just cooking together. She just rubbed off on, the whole
Yeah.
family. So she started
Wow.
teaching them what she was learning, and I was really happy to hear that because, the people around you can make or break you, and if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not supporting you or they're not happy about it, they're not going to like it. So I taught her ways to flavor her food. I gave her alternatives, and now she just does it on her own. So that's my goal, is to not keep me with you forever, is like eventually wean yourself off of me, and you're going to take all of my knowledge and apply
It
it.
means we did our job right. I tell the same thing to my people. Like,
Yeah.
I love you. We can stay in contact, but if you don't learn to do it on your own, if you don't learn how to fish, pun
Yeah.
intended, right? Like, I don't want to keep feeding you the fish. Like, you got to learn at some
Totally.
point. But yeah, that means we did our job if they're able to go out on their own now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Go to the guy that's above me, right? Like, there's plenty of people that know the business better than me. And I'm like, I would gladly, send you over to somebody else that's like more advanced than me. I have no
Yeah,
problem with
yeah.
that, you know?
If you're not, if they need someone who's more capable of advanced,
Yeah.
conversation on the subject, or to go into a deeper the niche of what they're looking to do, obviously I also do that as well. If I realize that this is beyond my capability, my scope of practice, and I need to refer someone out to a psychologist or just a whole different,
Hmm.
it's out of my scope, I'll definitely refer someone out, just because I'm like, okay, this isn't something that I can take on.
Yeah.
So there is an application process, and it is on my website. And I have to update it actually because I wanted to add a few more questions in there. But They can also email me if they have any questions. It's on my website. Just press contact me and you can. And I think, we'll do a consultation, go from there and just
Yeah, I
see
was
if it's,
gonna say that's typically the best way. Just get on a call with you and
yeah.
have them tell you like what their situation is, what their struggles are, where they're trying to get, and then come up with like a plan specifically for that individual, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's so different. We're all so unique and we all have different needs. And really, I don't know until I know. And then I can guide you in making these lifestyle changes because, like I said, it's not just your diet, it's your overall health. And that's what I'm versed in is, health coaching, is showing you like, okay, because you can change your diet and still have all these health problems, and
Yeah, for
like
sure.
mental and
Hmm.
stress and all these other, just situations that are going on in your life that I can help you minimize, and just someone holding you accountable is so amazing because like to go outside, to do this, but you're not doing any of it. So like when someone's like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, did you get your walk in today? Hey, what'd you make for lunch? Hey, what are you up to? Did you pick up that, like one of my clients, she was coloring. She had like a meditation coloring book and got really into it and every day it was a funny little book she found on Amazon. Actually, I liked it too. I was like, but she would like color in it, for like 20-30 minutes a day. And it was her little stress relief. And she really enjoyed that. And it was just something to take her mind off of all the stresses of her life, of work and her husband and her kids. And she was eating less, just because of that, just found something to take her mind off of it. So for me, it's like, really holding them accountable, checking on them, and just being really patient and loving towards my clients. Like for me, it's a very like loving relationship, like honestly, from my side, I'm such a giver and I have so much love in me that I just want to like nurture people and make sure that they're taken care of because sometimes that's all people really need as well is like
Yeah,
just someone to
for
check on
sure.
them,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
and it feels good for me. I'm a giver, so it feels good to check on people and just I just want to I just want to like all they're like my babies, like everybody's just
Well,
I just want to take care of them and make sure they're
yeah.
good.
Just like I want to rescue all these people from their jobs they hate.
Yeah, like you feel their pain, like
Yeah.
I know that you and me are both we can relate and like health is wealth and financial fitness is super important and it goes hand in
Oh
hand
yeah.
with fitness, health and
Yeah.
fitness. It's all health and wealth are it's the top, it's what people struggle with the most. And once you can get your life on track with, your just overall, like as a whole, you balance your will of life, then I think you just start feeling better and then you can tweak from there. And I'm still tweaking. We're till the day that we are gone from this earth, we're going to be making changes and updating our routines and changing our routines. As my baby grows, my routine changes as well. Like everything is changing all the time and nothing is forever. And like learning to manage that is so important to integrate constantly learning and be like a student of life is just so important.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, the sad thing is not a lot of people have made that decision to keep learning and growing throughout their
Yeah.
whole life, right? Like I remember my parents telling me this when I was like 8 years old, like you'll be learning for the rest of your life. Just because you hear it though doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to take it to heart and start living that way, right? And so I think it's important to take that seriously because there's so many things that are freely available to learn right now. So many positive things that can improve your life. And all it takes is one little thing to start the snowball effect, and so many people will go through life. My favorite saying is like a leaf in the wind. So that means zero intentionality. You're just some random thing that, you're a leaf that gets blown around
Getting pushed
by the
around,
and you
yeah,
end up wherever you end up. Like you
yeah.
have no idea where you're going to end up because you don't even have a plan on where you want to end up. Um, and so it's really sad to see people struggle with things, but they don't realize that it's literally like 99% self-inflicted, meaning there are a lot of things in your life that you can control if you make the conscious decision.
Yeah.
And so many people live as if things happen to them. Yeah, some things happen to you sometimes, but most of the time it's something that you can control and you can make a like conscious decision like I'm done with this. Like this is the biggest thing for me right now is it's frustrating that people don't get just upset at whatever it is that is the biggest struggle in their life and say, I'm drawing the line in the sand right here. And from this day on, I'm making this kind of change. Like you did with the drinking of alcohol, like, I did with saying, I'm no longer going to work a W-2 job because I don't believe that that's how we're created to be. Um, and, you know, so it's hard to get people to realize that you are here. This is the spot where you need to draw the line and say, like, this is it for you. Now's the time. You've been struggling with this long enough. Now make the decision. You're done with it and take the action.
Mhm.
So that's, one of our biggest challenges. What's been great, Mikhaila. Any final closing words?
Oh, yeah, I just appreciate your time today. And, I would love to connect with whoever's interested in making a huge lifestyle transformation and shifting themselves into, a better life. And, I'm just here if anyone wants to reach out, if they have any questions about anything, feel free to
Yeah.
contact me on the website.
Yeah.
And
I'll put all your information on the bottom.
uh,
Send me some of the book titles
oh, yeah,
and some of the documentaries. I'm going to put that on the bottom as well, so people can have access to that. But definitely check out the website, check out the 52-week course if you're one of those slow and steady people. And if you're really, really serious, definitely reach out to Mikhaila. We put the link to the Skool community. I think that is an amazing, amazing tool. Obviously, we both have a Skool community.
yeah, school's awesome.
And it's excellent because there are essentially people will not be in our communities if they didn't have that kind of mentality or desire to learn about this specific topic, or even a lot of us are actually action takers and we're already doing the thing or living the thing. And you can get a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, like Mikhaila was saying earlier, uh, and take every chance and opportunity to speed things up. And these are things that are going to help you, accelerate the speed. Because like I said, I think for me right now, like the main thing is how fast can you get from point A to point B? That's it. Because we can probably all get there. It's just a matter of, is it going to be 30 years or is it going to be 3 months? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's
Totally.
it. So any parting words?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate this talk, and I hope that no matter what, that it's helped open someone's eyes out there, and
Open
that
minds for sure.
yeah, open your mind. And I just wish everyone who's watching this the best of success in your journey, that you can, believe in yourself, and that you can, if you're going through any rough times, like stay strong, because it's not going to last forever, and we're only here to help. And we're here to help, so join our
Yeah.
communities, and go from there. We're just here to guide you in the direction that we felt your pain. And so that's why we're here, because we want to help make a change. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just thank you guys for watching, whoever's stayed so
Awesome.
this long.
Yeah.
And and yeah, thank you.
All right, Michaela, we'll see ya. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.